Chapter 863. Shao Qing's reaction was as fast as lightning. His qi and blood condensed like wind and thunder. He stretched out 2 fingers and clamped down on the 5-colored spear tip with his bare hands. "Oh, your posture wiping your butt is really unique. It reminds me of the little black dog next door." Lin Chen sneered. At this moment, Shao Qing was covering his butt with his hand, and he really did have the charm of wiping his butt. "Be careful. He's the young pavilion master of the Hidden Pavilion, ranked 84680 on the genius ranking. Futu murderous Shao Qing. Today, he even brought 6 assassins on the genius ranking to fight together. His strength far surpasses his original ranking." Qin Jian exclaimed. Lin Chen handed Lung Yueqi 2 pills and smiled. "Don't worry. Leave the rest to me. Yes, my 9 absolute cold meridians have yet to transform to the high-speed growth stage. I can only leave it to you." Lung Yueqi's smile was like a flower. That extremely beautiful and refined smile shocked and stunned Shao Qing. In his heart, Lung Yueqi was so aloof and cold, like a fairy in the moon who did not care about the mortal world. Today, she actually smiled at a man as beautiful as a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. "You're Lin Chen?" Shao Qing gritted his teeth. "I don't want to answer a dead person's question. You've touched my bottom line. You and your people must die." Lin Chen smiled with killing intent and raised his hand to snap his fingers. "Ha! Host has activated the Blue Stare Sure Kill skill. Heavenly Ice Fiend Prison. Suitable targets, 3. The 3 hostile targets closest to the host have been locked on." Rumble. The frost hurricane flowed with a cold, murderous aura, enveloping Shao Qing and the 2 people in the sea of blood. The cold current around them churned like a tornado rising from the ground, as if it wanted to freeze all life. The coldness that seeped into the marrow suddenly arrived. Frost baleful energy? Shao Qing was stunned and furious. He grabbed at the void with both hands, and the sea of blood exploded. Bang! The ice fiend was like a tide, and the sea of blood surged into the sky. From afar, it looked like dozens of blood rainbows flying into the sky. This time, Lin Chen had the intention to kill. He used the Blue Stare Sure Kill skill in the first exchange. All the clones and Lin Chen unleashed their 9 Tribulations battle aura to form a 9-colored barrier to protect everyone. The surface of the sea below the ancient sacred hall was covered in a rain of blood. The sea of blood dissipated, and all living things were silent. "They're dead?" Qin Jian exclaimed. Lin Chen's move was even more powerful than the flame she controlled. "No, it's not over." Lin Chen and Qin Miao said in unison. In the center of the sea of blood explosion, a Big Dipper 7 extremes formation appeared. Like 7 consecutive flashes of lightning, 7 crescent-shaped dark red blood shadows joined together, permeating the murderous aura that caused everyone's expression to change. As expected of the man that Lung Yueqi has taken a fancy to, you really do have some ability to actually break through my sacred sea of blood. Otherwise, this hunt would be meaningless." Shao Qing laughed sinisterly, but he was actually shocked. His Blood Sea Pagoda art was an extremely powerful top-grade, purple-tier mental cultivation technique. It required the collection of fresh blood from experts. The more fresh blood was collected, the stronger its power would be. If it was in the hands of his father, this mental cultivation technique would be comparable to a half-orange tier mental cultivation technique. Every time the sacred sea of blood was detonated, it would consume the fresh blood of experts that Shao Qing had collected. The price was extremely high. He didn't expect Lin Chen to force him to detonate the sea of blood. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured by the ice fiend just now. This is the unique 7-killing formation of the Dark Pavilion. The killing intent of the 7 people is continuous, and their attacks are like a raging sea. It is the famous ultimate skill of the Dark Pavilion. When used by the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion, it is enough to challenge the geniuses ranked 70,000 on the genius list. The fatal flaw of the formation is also its advantage. If one person dies, the entire team will die. Qin Juyin solemnly instructed. Lin Chen raised his hand with ease. The sea of blood has exploded. They can no longer seal the space. You guys retreat first. My Black Horse Club doesn't care what formation they have. Even if a saint comes today, he will die. Lin Chen's killing intent was revealed. If he hadn't used super-dimensional teleportation in time, Lung Yueqi would have been in danger. Lin Chen was definitely going to kill this person. The girls looked at each other and retreated. Roar! Without the restrictions of battle, the seriously injured Dragon Emperor let out a violent roar. There is a time limit in the ancient sage temple. You're the last person to come out. It seems that the inheritance of the ancient sage is very likely to be in your hands. Killing you is killing two birds with one stone. Xiao Qing smiled cruelly and led the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion to rush toward Lin Chun. Their speed was so fast that it created a sonic boom. 7 transformations. Lin Chun used the 7 transformations with his early stage 9th level cultivation. At this moment, he finally felt the boundary between the peak of 9th level and the First Tribulation Combat Emperor. Roar! The Dragon Emperor attacked, and his dragon claws tore down. The 5 clones used their divine abilities and collided with the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. Lin Chen instantly drew his saber, and the Azure Moon slashed at Xiao Qing. Clang! Bang! Xiao Qing's 5 fingers formed a bloody claw and blocked the Azure Moon's blade. An incomplete sage artifact? Ha ha! You won't be able to use it for long. Xiao Qing laughed and waved his bloody claws crazily. Hundreds and thousands of bloody marks were like an endless bloody net, sealing off Lin Chen's escape route. Then let's try. Lin Chen sneered. The blade spun around his body and slashed horizontally, each slash following the trajectory of the bright moon mirror technique. It was either the moon of speed or the mirror of attack. His saber technique was superb. It collided with the bloody marks in the sky. The battle between the two sides became more and more intense. The Dragon Emperor and the 5 clones fought against the other 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. Their attacks and defenses collided, and the battle shook the sky. The battle gradually became white-hot. In addition, the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion were not inferior to Xiao Qing at all. They were all at the peak of the First Tribulation, which seriously did not match their ranking. This allowed them to fight head-on with Lin Chen's 5 clones without being at a disadvantage. Originally, they were only ranked around 94,000 on the Genius ranking. Their cultivation was still at the late 9th level, and their combat power was a few levels lower than Xiao Qing's. But now, each of them had a strength that surpassed Xiao Qing's. Xiao Qing's strength had broken through to an unprecedented level. Even his strength had temporarily stepped into the Second Tribulation Combat Emperor realm, firmly suppressing Lin Chun by a few levels. It's because of the 7 kills formation. All their original battle chis are connected with each other through the formation. As a result, their cultivation bases are promoted to a wholly new realm temporarily. It's equal to putting life and death on the same line. As long as one of them is killed, all the others will die. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes as he attacked with his saber technique. No wonder Xiao Qing was so confident. This was equivalent to having 7 people ranked above 85,000 on the Genius ranking fighting together. Xiao Qing's strength had broken through the top 80,000, and he could even fight with the Azure Moon head-on. With such a lineup, no one on the Genius ranking in the Blue Moon trial would be his opponent. If my cultivation had not broken through and my mental cultivation method plus 13, I'm afraid I would have been suppressed by now. Unfortunately, your opponent is me, Lin Chun. The final moment. Boom. The aura of Lin Chun and his clones suddenly skyrocketed. The moment the green brilliance flowed, their movements and attacks were reversed in an instant. Speed of moon. At this moment, Lin Chun swiftly swung his saber again, and the moonlight slashed vertically. Xiao Qing's expression changed slightly. How could this attack suddenly skyrocket by so many times? Blood Dragon kill. 10 bloody claws closed together and strangled. The bloody claws were like a dragon sweeping its tail, fiercely slapping towards Lin Chen's shocking saber. The claw marks of the bloody claws exploded, and blood filled the sky. Xiao Qing's expression was somewhat solemn. Chapter 864. Xiao Qing's expression was solemn. That moon of speed was as powerful as a half-orange grade combat technique. However, before Xiao Qing could recover from his shock, an even more terrifying scene appeared. Life Reaping. Mirror of Speed. 7 stars, sword aura. 7th Fighting Emperor style. Arrows flew out continuously, and they traveled thousands of miles. The 5 dragons' imperial spear swept down furiously, and the spear aura turned into a dragon. The spiraling sword aura turned into a sword aura storm and shot toward Xiao Qing. Vanishing Shadow style. Life Reaping Flower. The flying daggers were like dancing butterflies. They looked beautiful, but they were filled with killing intent. By the time Xiao Qing realized the killing intent in the Vanishing Shadow, the flying daggers were already in front of him. The azure dragon light shone brightly. The Dragon Emperor flapped his purple phoenix wings, and his dragon tail swept over. It was like a sword splitting heaven and earth, and splitting the stars. Every single one of his moves was so powerful that the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion's expressions changed. They all unleashed their most powerful ultimate techniques to fight back. The Big Dipper Sword Manual, Lethal Arrow Technique, Bright Moon Mirror, 10 Moves of the Emperor Dohuang, Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger, and numerous top-rate combat skills were executed by the 5 clones like a storm, and their attacks were all powerful as they madly pierced through the attacks of the 5 clones. Impossible. How can your people be so strong? Xiao Qing was shocked. Every move was as powerful as a half-orange grade combat technique. There were only a handful of geniuses who had half-orange grade combat techniques on the genius leaderboard. Lin Shun and his group all had half-orange grade combat techniques. Since when did this combat technique that was close to the legendary level become so common? There are many things that you don't know. Lin Shun and his 5 avatars instantly turned into shadows and disappeared into the void. Their auras vanished as if they were transparent. There was only one Dragon Emperor left on the scene. This shocked the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion even more. They were experts among assassins. Direct combat was not their forte. Assassination was their strongest technique. However, Lin Shun and his group's aura concealment technique was even better than theirs. Rip! With the sound of wind breaking, the first attack was launched from behind the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. Saber lights and sword shadows, flying daggers flashed. Arrows and spear lights exploded one after another. Host has fully activated the purple rank passive talent. Assault, power increase by 300%. The host has triggered the purple rank passive talent. Tear. Bang. 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 This time, it was the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion who were pushed back. The one who suffered the most serious injury was Xiao Qing. His back was struck by Lin Chen's blade, and all of his defenses were instantly torn apart. He was actually heavily injured by Lin Chen's sneak attack. Lin Chen wasn't in the mood to pick up the attribute light balls that were scattered all over the sky. His attacks were closing in on Xiao Qing, and he only wanted to kill him first. Why is his battle skill so destructive and his battle chi so strong? Xiao Qing, who was almost hacked to death by the saber, was a ghastly sight. It was definitely not a coincidence that Lin Chen's top-tier purple rank combat skill could unleash half an orange rank's power. The ultimate moment talent doubled the power of all cultivation techniques. The doubling of mental cultivation techniques was 1+1. When a mental cultivation technique was doubled, the combat skill unleashed would be 2x2. It actually increased the power of all of Lin Chen's combat skills by 4 times. Mental cultivation technique strengthening +13 caused Lin Chen's overall elemental attributes to increase by 240%, which was equivalent to increasing the power of his combat skills by 5 times. Lastly, Most of Lin Chen's basic combat skills were strengthened plus 13, which was also a 240% increase in power. Mental cultivation technique strengthening, ultimate moment, and combat skill strengthening. These three enhancements created an almost heaven-defying superposition. Lin Chen, who was in the ultimate moment, could unleash combat skills that were eight times more powerful than when he wasn't strengthened. It was close to 9 times. What the F***CK was this? It meant that the combat skills unleashed by Lin Chen were close to 9 times more powerful than when he hadn't strengthened his mental cultivation technique and activated the ultimate moment. The mental cultivation technique of the 9 tribulations of creation could be continuously strengthened by obtaining 9 elemental attributes. Lin Chen's mental cultivation technique foundation was better than most of the geniuses on the prodigy roll. Now, it was close to 9 times more powerful. If the complete assault talent was activated, it would be close to 12 times more powerful. However, there were hard conditions to activate the assault talent. But without a doubt, with a 9 times increase in power, Lin Chen's combat skills would surpass the category of purple rank techniques. It might not reach orange rank, but it would at least be comparable to half orange rank combat skills. What was even more frightening was that Lin Chen hadn't used a level 6 recharge rune even once until now. He could still reach a higher level. Rip! The shadows flashed again. Lin Chen and his clone once again hid in the shadows. The congenital shadow art was unleashed to the extreme. In the past, Lin Chen had already reached his limit by merely maintaining the innate shadow tactic state. This secret technique had an extremely high concealment ability, but the speed at which it consumed battle chi was too fast. Lin Chen was unable to use it for long periods of time in battle. But after absorbing the dark, odd crystal fragment, the dark energy soared by 150 million points. This gave Lin Chen some capital to squander, and it was the first time he could use it in battle. Slow rune. While Xiaoqing was heavily injured, Lin Chen used 100 million points of the level 6 slow rune. The grayish-white rune fell from the sky and suppressed everything, sealing the void around Xiaoqing. The moment the space became sluggish, Lin Chen raised his hand and held the azure moon. He slashed vertically, creating a moon of speed. The moonlight was dazzling and vast, and it wanted to cut Xiaoqing in half. Boom! The murderous aura was monstrous, and the murderous intent was like a dragon. As the 7 kills formation sped up, thousands of grayish-white auras emerged from Xiaoqing's body like a tide. Not only did this aura break through the restraint of the slow rune, but it also crushed Lin Chen's moon of speed with one claw. Lin Chen was surprised. Xiaoqing's aura became particularly violent and brutal at this moment. Damn it! I didn't expect you to force me to use the Dark Demon 7 Evils. This is the trump card I plan to use to reach the 70,000th place on the genius list. Lin Chen, you could die a worthy death. Xiaoqing's voice was hoarse. He was wearing a black mask. The mask was like a ghost, and its horns and teeth were ferocious. Blue veins grew from the base of the mask and embedded into Xiaoqing's neck, transmitting a pressure that could break the atmosphere. Xiaoqing had become brutal, crazy, and bloodthirsty. He was like a barrel of gunpowder that could explode at any time. His cultivation had temporarily broken through to the 3rd Tribulation Combat Emperor, which was more than 5 times stronger than before. The 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion, who were affected by Xiaoqing's 7 kills formation, became as crazy and brutal as him. Their cultivation had temporarily broken through to the 2nd Tribulation Combat Emperor. Lin Chen wasn't afraid of an ordinary 3rd Tribulation Combat Emperor. However, a 3rd Tribulation Combat Emperor on the genius list was quite terrifying, not to mention that there were 6 other people. You must pay a certain price to wear this mask. Let me see how many trump cards you have. You may have a trump card, but I, Lin Chen, have even more. Lin Chen was overflowing with arrogance. As he laughed heartily, he connected his mind to the system and activated the level 6 rune recharge. He held the saber with both hands. The azure moon seemed to emit a blue radiance. It was like a mirror moon hanging in the sky. He held the saber and slashed. Moon mirror, imperial god. Boom! A ray of moonlight flashed from the azure blade and slashed across the sky. It was like the moon in a mirror. It was brighter than all the light in the world, and the sky was instantly illuminated by the moonlight. The moon reflected on the water, like a falling galaxy, and slashed the sky. Xiao Qing's pupils trembled with fear. He felt the taste of destruction from this slash. Chapter 865. The last move of the brand-new Bright Moon Mirror was upgraded to half orange-gray by Lin Shun because of the purple-green enlightenment fruit. Lin Shen's half orange-grayed Mirror Moon Imperial God was supported by a level 6 rune and Lin Shen's pure strength. It was more than 15 times the original power, and it was even slashed out by a rank 8 sword. The power of this slash was no longer close to that of an orange tier territory. It was the power of a genuine orange tier combat skill. Slow rune. When Lin Shun slashed out with his strongest slash, the 5 avatars released 5 level 6 slow runes with 50 million rune energy and suppressed the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion for a moment. The Dragon Emperor flipped his huge dragon body, and his dragon claws flowed with a sharp green light. He waved his Millennium Black Light Blade, slashed his dragon tail, and slashed his Azure Dragon sword horizontally. He used all his strength to hold back the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. Coincidentally, the 6 heroes who were sealed by the slow rune wanted to break through the restraints and had to deal with the Dragon Emperor, so they couldn't care about Xiao Qing. 4 styles of absolute shadow. The 5 avatars pulled out the flying daggers at their waists. 4 gold and 1 blue flying dagger flashed like afterimages and were extremely fast as they went straight for Xiao Qing. Lin Shen's target was him from the start. He was in charge of the center of the array. Lin Shen wasn't sure if he could remove the array at any time after killing the others, so killing him was the safest choice. Bang! Blood lightning sacrifice. A blood lightning exploded above Xiao Qing's head. There were actually 2 odd crystal fragments in Xiao Qing's body. 1 water and 1 lightning. The lightning odd crystal fragment was Xiao Qing's final trump card. His father personally helped him refine it a month ago, and the information on the genius list didn't register this trump card at all. The lightning borrowed the power of the water, and the water increased the power of the lightning. The 2 odd crystal fragments shone brightly. Xiao Qing's hands turned into crystal-like coiling dragon claws and slammed into the air, wanting to crush all of Lin Shen's attacks. Don't worry, I think highly of you. I still have expectations for this move of yours. Lin Shen's lips curled up slightly, and the 9 tribulations' origin in his body rapidly decreased. Swish! When a mirror moon imperial god's moonlight flashed, it split into 5. Activated orange talent, instant split shadow. Consumed 18. 5 million talent points. Xiao Qing's eyeballs almost fell out. What kind of absolute art was this? Not only was it as powerful as an orange tier combat skill, but it could also be split into 5 moves. 5 rays of moonlight slashed down from the sky, causing the blood lightning to shatter into pieces. It shook the heavens for 100 miles, and a huge amount of raging waves appeared. The last ray of moonlight still had some energy left, cleaving through the wind and waves as it slashed towards Xiao Qing. 5 flying knives shot out in a split second. At the critical moment, the 7 kills formation that Xiao Qing was maintaining blazed with light, and the other 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion appeared beside him. The 6 of them were like the most loyal death warriors, brazenly risking their lives to launch offensive and defensive techniques, forcefully resisting Lin Shen's onslaught. Bang! 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 The 6 heroes blocked Lin Shen's attacks, and after being heavily injured, they were killed by the 25% penetration property, turning into a bloody powder. Lin Shen frowned. The 7 extremes formation was not a life and death situation. Was Xiao Qing's action not suicide? Bang! As expected, Xiaoqing also exploded, causing blood to splatter all over the sky. The strange thing was that the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion all dropped attribute light balls, but Xiaoqing did not drop any attribute points. This scene immediately attracted Lin Chen's attention. A group of extremely powerful figures sat in the Dark Pavilion's main hall. They were the top assassins in the Sacred Boundary, and a sage had once died in their hands. Pavilion Master, what do you think of the deaths of so many people on the genius roll this time? The voice in the darkness was hoarse. These geniuses are all rushing towards the ancient sacred temple in the Tsanyue's secret realm. It is highly likely that they will encounter misfortune in the ancient sacred temple. A light laughter echoed in the air. Pavilion Master, if that nameless junior Lin Shun is behind this, an elder hesitated. These people are all rushing towards the ancient sacred temple. Although the ancient sacred temple intends to choose a successor, it does not mean that he will lower the difficulty. If a great crisis occurs in the ancient sacred temple, this Lin Shun, who came out of nowhere, is just a ready-made opportunity. Secondly, Qing has personally led the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion to set up the 7-kill formation. The middle-aged man's voice was calm and composed. There were many exclamations in the main hall. It's actually the young Pavilion Master himself. The 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion are all gathered together. According to the situation in the Tsanyue's secret realm, no one is his match. But Pavilion Master, isn't this inappropriate? We have already violated the sex rules. Even if the young Pavilion Master is invincible and can kill all the geniuses, if he can't obtain the ancient sacred inheritance in the end, the meaning can't be compared to the loss. An elder raised his doubts, and the Pavilion Master laughed. It's time to tell you that I saved Saint Master Xing Meng's life 30,000 years ago. She has already repaid the favor she owes me 1,000 years ago. She spent a huge price to deduce the heavenly secrets, and the ancient sacred inheritance will fall into the hands of my son this time. My Dark Pavilion will become the sect that occupies all the heavenly secrets in the sacred boundary in the future. Obtaining the ancient sacred inheritance's odd crystal secret technique will be the day of my Dark Pavilion's rise. Amir Sek's rules are nothing compared to this. The moment he said that, everyone was shocked. Saint Master Xing Meng was a top saint fortune teller, and her strength was unquestionable. Since ancient times, fortune tellers didn't become gods. Her foundation was already one of the top saint fortune tellers in the sacred boundary. It was almost an ironclad fact that she was the one who deduced the heavenly secrets. Pavilion Master is wise. The day of the Dark Pavilion's rise is today. Surprised and congratulatory voices rose and fell, and the Pavilion Master laughed confidently as if he was in control of the entire situation. Ha ha, everyone, just wait for my son's triumphant return. In order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, even the Dark Pavilion's treasure, the Dark Demon's 7 Banes, has been handed over to him and helped him refine the second odd crystal fragment. My son's strength is not inferior to the geniuses ranked 80,000 on the genius list, and with the 7-kill formation, it's enough to deal with any accidents. As for that Lin Shun, he's just a nobody who picked up the scraps. There's no need to worry about him. Just as he laughed, a golden radiance flashed. Everyone picked up the gold list, and, as expected, just as the experts present had expected, Lin Chen's name swiftly vanished from the 92,333 rankings. Before everyone could rejoice, even the 84680 photo life, Xiaoqing's name disappeared from the list. Silence. The hall became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. It was dead silent. A surge of murderous intent was silently brewing, accumulating, and about to explode. Then, a streak of golden splendor shone on the genius ranking. Rank 84680 appeared out of thin air, dazzling with golden light. Genius List 84680, Lin Shun. Title None. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, Power Grade Unknown. Then, an even more shocking scene appeared. Lin Shun, He actually killed their young pavilion master of the Dark Pavilion? How is this possible? On the genius list, 6 names disappeared in a row. It was the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. They were all around 94,000, and they were all replaced at this time. On the genius leaderboard, 6 shining golden names were displayed. Genius list 94150, Jean de Jean. Title none. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, power grade unknown. Genius list 94171, Jean de Jiu. Title none. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, power grade unknown. Genius list 94125, Jean Dang. Title none. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, power grade unknown. Genius list 94122, Jendok Shui. Title none. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, power grade unknown. Genius list 94120, Shintoka Shui. Title none. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, power grade unknown. Genius list 94129, Jindepi. Title none. Affiliation, Black Horse Club, power grade unknown. At this moment, all the higher-ups of the Dark Pavilion exploded. The Dark Pavilion was not the only one who exploded. Countless powerful figures and forces were paying attention to the genius list. Every time there was a change in the genius list, there would be a golden glow on the list, attracting the attention of countless powerful figures. And this time, 7 names flashed at once, making everyone even more astonished and surprised. Huh, damn, am I seeing things? All the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion are dead? What's going on? What happened? Isn't the Dark Pavilion a large assassin sect? Even if they can't kill their target, it shouldn't be difficult for them to retreat. Even Xiao Qing, the young pavilion master, is dead. All the families, sects, and powerful figures were stirring up a new storm. No, something's wrong. Look, someone is on the genius list. It's Lin Chun from a few days ago. He replaced Xiao Qing. Wow, my goodness, the other 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion are no exception. Zhen Dezhang, Zhen Dang, Zhen Dijiu, what kind of names are these? Black Horse Club? What kind of demonic force is that? They have 7 geniuses on the genius list. The sacred boundary of the mystic domain caused another huge earthquake. This earthquake started from the mystic domain and started to spread to the other 36 domains. At first glance, it did not seem as unexpected as the 30 geniuses who died in an instant. But in reality, it was even more shocking, because a brand new name had appeared on the Sacred Boundaries genius list in the most powerful and unexpected way. A sect with no grade had suddenly gained 7 geniuses on the genius list. The Black Horse Club had appeared out of nowhere. Chapter 866. My son, Xiao Qing. Lin Chun, the Black Horse Club. How dare you destroy my hidden pavilion's 10,000-year plan? We won't rest until one of us is dead. Kill him. No matter where this brat came from, he's dead for sure. I thought I could witness the rise of the hidden pavilion, but I didn't expect such bad news. Every generation of the 7 heroes of the hidden pavilion costs a lot of resources, but this Black Horse Club has such a foundation. Perhaps they've already obtained the Ancient Saint's inheritance. Only by obtaining the Ancient Saint's inheritance can we make up for our losses. At this moment, all the saints of the hidden pavilion had their eyes on Lin Chun. They all acted at the same time, collecting information on Lin Chun's origins and background. As an assassin force, the hidden pavilion had an extremely rich intelligence network. Laughter came from the 8 remoteness Dragon Palace. Not simple. I originally thought he was just a guy who picked up scraps, but I didn't expect him to be an expert with true ability. Just wait for the show. The Mystic Realm won't be peaceful for a while. More than 30 geniuses were killed, and the hidden pavilion lost the 7 heroes. This generation's young power has fallen to the hands of the Black Horse Club. They won't let this go. Being targeted by those madmen of the hidden pavilion. Unless this brat's force is extremely strong, it won't be so simple. Being targeted by a single Saint Realm assassin is already terrifying enough, but being targeted by a group of Saint Realm assassins, he won't even be able to cultivate peacefully. Iceheart Palace. The three grand elders of the Iceheart Palace stood on the mountain peak, their expressions unprecedentedly solemn. Lin Shun had played too big this time. Even their Iceheart Palace couldn't protect him. The Hidden Pavilion was a fourth-grade sect, suppressing third-grade sects. If they provoked the Hidden Pavilion, their Iceheart Palace's future would be dark, because that was a place where assassins gathered. Yin Yang Hall, a man in female robes, the Yin Yang Hall master frowned. What's the background of this Black Horse Club? They've in it too deeply. 7 geniuses on the genius ranking at once. Only a fourth-grade sect or above has such a foundation. My hall's Yin Qing Yun was defeated by this Lin Shun. Do you really want to take revenge on the Black Horse Club? Everyone knew the rules of the sacred boundary. There were no geniuses in the humble class, and there were no experts in the lower class. The strength of the vast majority of geniuses was almost completely related to their background. If Lin Shun was able to kill the young master of the Hidden Pavilion and 6 other geniuses, how could the Black Horse Club be simple? How could they not have a powerful force behind them? Who would believe it? Hall Master, there's no need to fear him. Now that he's offended so many forces, and there's a tiger like the secret pavilion in front of him, why don't we use the other forces to pressure him? The 2 white-browed elders beside him asked for guidance. The Hall Master flicked his orchid-like fingers and shook his head. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Have you ever seen the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion gather and fight together? The 2 old men looked at each other, puzzled. The Hall Master's tone was solemn. The Dark Moon Secret Realm is a secret realm of 2nd grade and 3rd grade sects. It's a sacred boundary, and the sect rules forbid 4th grade and above forces from entering or interfering. Since Lin Shun killed the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion in the Dark Moon Secret Realm, it means that they've already entered the Dark Moon Secret Realm. The Dark Pavilion's actions this time were so brazen, and they broke into the Dark Moon Secret Realm openly. This means that there are benefits inside that they're willing to go against the sect rules to obtain. The only possibility is the ancient saint's inheritance. The Dark Pavilion has always acted prudently. Since they sent out the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion, they must have used their trump card, the 7-kill formation. The Hall Master let out a heavy breath. The 2 old men understood most of what he meant. Hall Master, you're worried that Lin Shun didn't kill Shao Qing in his normal state, but the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion in the 7-kill formation? The Hall Master nodded. That's right. Once the 7-kill formation is activated, life and death will share the same fate. With the current 7 heroes' strength, it's enough to raise their strength by 2 to 3 levels. Shao Qing's strength alone is comparable to the 80,000 ranked Dongfang Wuji, not to mention the other 6. The 2 old men trembled. If that was the case, then wouldn't it be the same as Lin Shun and the others from the Black Horse Club, killing a group of geniuses whose strength was comparable to the 80,000 ranked geniuses? 7 geniuses ranked over 80,000. What kind of force could nurture them? After weighing the pros and cons, the Yin Yang Hall Master suddenly waved his hand. Pass down my order. The matter of dealing with Lin Shun will be delayed for now. Tell the elders not to act rashly. Those who break the rules will be punished with the highest punishment. Ju God Sect above the clouds. A cynical young man was lying in the clouds, playing with the gold roll. There was a red between his eyebrows, and his eyes were as cold as knives. There was a disdainful smile on his face. He put his hands on the gold roll and smiled. This is the Lin Shun that Miss by Ruoyan mentioned before. He's just a trash on the genius roll. How can he be compared to us? He's just a group of ordinary people who are still at the bottom. I can even step his head on the ground with one move. If I have time, I'll find some time to sweep this trash away. Sister Ruoyan is a candidate to step into the legendary realm in the future. How can she be entangled by this trash? The young man threw the gold roll away from the clouds and casually opened a green crystal roll. On the roll, there were 3 big words engraved. Monster Roll. Returning to the time before the sacred boundary, in the Tsangyue secret realm. Lin Shun had killed the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion in the 7-kill formation. According to the theory of the formation, Xiao Qing should have died here too. His corpse was floating not far from Lin Shun, but it didn't drop any attribute light balls. Lin Shen's doppelganger fell into an extremely weak state after using the 4th style of Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger. Lin Shen's arm was injured by the backlash of the azure full moon. There were cuts all over and blood flowed. He didn't stop holding the blade, and his purple-gold eyes quickly scanned the surroundings. His mental power covered the entire sea. When he activated the demon shadow, odd crystal fragment in his body, the dark calamity battle chi stirred slightly. You're indeed not dead. Come out. With a slash, the attack mirror slashed out like a spinning snowflake. A lurking afterimage in the void was suddenly cut down. An arm was severed, and blood spurted out like a fountain. It was Xiao Qing who was about to escape. Without saying a word, Lin Shun threw out a slowing rune with 90 million runes worth of runes. The moment he was stunned, Lin Shun quickly used Silent Step and placed his blade on his neck. You, how did you find out? Xiao Qing's eyes widened. Lin Shun sneered. For a pampered person like you, I already knew that you would have a lot of trump cards. Lin Shun reached out with one hand and snatched the hidden Shuttle 8 trigrams from his waist. This item looked like a roulette, but it contained some dark elemental energy. It could shrink space and hide people in the shadows, allowing them to escape into the void. No, Lin Shun, don't kill me. I can share my secrets with you. My father is a saint. He is the pavilion master of the Dark Pavilion. He is rich and powerful, and he can satisfy any request you have. If you spare my life, I can order the Dark Pavilion to kill your enemy for you. Xiao Qing went from anger to begging for mercy. The killing intent in his heart didn't decrease, but he was too shocked by Lin Chen's methods. Even the treasure of the Dark Pavilion, the mystic demon 7 baneful mask, and the 7-kill formation couldn't beat this guy. This guy was a freaking monster. Chapter 867. In Xiao Qing's opinion, Lin Chen's strength was above 80,000 on the genius list, and the people around him were all monsters. Almost all of them weren't inferior to the geniuses on the genius list who were ranked 85,000. Even the blood demon doppelganger that he was so proud of couldn't escape his eyes. This was a doppelganger that consumed the blood of countless strong people and their own essence blood. It was enough to replace Xiao Qing's life. Because of this doppelganger technique, Xiao Qing became the strongest genius in the history of the Dark Pavilion. He could even use his doppelganger to replace the cost of the 7 kills formation. However, even with so many trump cards at his disposal, he was still unable to shake Lin Shun. This guy was F*King ridiculously strong. Oh, your secret. What secret do you have? After killing you, your secret will still be mine. Lin Shen's smile gradually turned cold. With a swipe of his blade, he beheaded him. With a flick of his finger, a wisp of fire calamity battle chi burned the body into nothingness, leaving only 2 odd crystal fragments. A large number of attribute light balls dropped. This time, Lin Shun was sure that this was the original body. The Dragon Emperor wandered around and collected all the attribute light balls of the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. He opened more than 10 purple crystal treasure chests. In this battle, Lin Shun obtained a total of 27 billion points of intermediate battle chi essence. 3 of his elemental attributes increased by more than 10 million points, as well as an orange crystal treasure chest, dropped by Xiao Qing. Host opened orange crystal treasure chest. Obtained orange one-time talent, God Slayer talent fragment, 1/3. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. He finally obtained the God Slayer fragment. If he had this talent, he would be qualified to compete with a saint. Lin Shun kept the storage rings of the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. When he erased the spiritual imprint and his consciousness penetrated into Xiao Qing's storage ring, his heart skipped a beat. Among the many resources of this young pavilion master, he immediately saw an extraordinary item that was carefully stored in a jade box. It was actually a lavender seed that was broken in half. It's a broken plant of luck seed. Lin Shun was shocked. This was actually a plant of luck seed. Wouldn't its value be comparable to his clear jade tree? No, the seed is broken. Only a small part of it still has vitality, unless it's perfectly restored. But I don't have the ability to restore the seed of the plant of providence. Lin Shun came back to his senses and frowned. System, can you repair this plant of destiny seed? Lin Shun had no choice but to seek help from the system. The system replied to the host. The system does not have a repair function, but the host could try to use the fusion function to fuse the plant of providence seed as the main material. There is a higher chance of producing a new plant of providence seed, provided that a large number of natural treasures and elixirs are used as the base material for the fusion. Moreover, there is only one chance. If the fusion fails, it will result in the fusion of other items that are not plant of providence seed. A large number of heavenly treasures? Lin Shun struggled in his heart. After a moment of hesitation, he sent his consciousness into the peach blossom plant bag. At this time, the clear jade tree had already nurtured more than 10,000 types of heavenly treasures of different attributes. Together with the remaining heavenly treasures from before, Lin Shun had 20,000 level 7 herbs and 2 level 8 herbs. Lin Shun plundered all the treasures of the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. Together with what Lin Shun had, there were 480 level 7 elixirs and 245 level 7 elixirs. System, fuse all of them. 85 million heavenly Tao points have been used to fuse the broken plant of providence seed and the designated herbs and elixirs. Lin Shun held his breath. There was only one chance. If the fusion failed, he would use up more than 200,000 silver Saint Origin coins worth of elixirs and herbs. Fusion complete. The host has received inferior grade plant of providence seed, long Qingshu seed. Success. I'm so handsome. My luck is damn good. Ha ha ha. Lin Shun laughed excitedly and planted the new long Qingshu seed into the peach blossom plant bag. Unlike when he planted the clear jade tree, with the peach blossom plant bag, Lin Shun could provide the long Qingshu seed with the fastest growth speed and environment. He filled a flask of heavenly 1 holy water and 5 gold Saint Origin coins and poured them beside the long Qingshu seed. The seed sprouted quickly, and a 2-meter-long shoot grew out. Its growth speed was extremely fast. It will probably enter the growth stage in less than 3 days. It's great to have a plant of providence seed bag, as expected of a treasure that is equivalent to an orange-grade cultivation technique. I think my peach blossom plant bag can hold another 2 plants of providence. Lin Shun nodded in satisfaction. Although the space was vast now, a plant of providence at its peak was truly a huge monster. It was rich in resources, and the peach blossom plant bag could only hold 4 plants of providence. This thing is too strange. I'll seal it first. Lin Shun kept the mystic demon 7 Banes mask. He could understand this thing. After wearing it, Xiao Qing's strength increased by a lot, but his temperament became abnormally fierce. He wasn't in his right mind, so Lin Shun didn't dare to test it. With the previous shadow egg as a lesson, Lin Shun sealed the mask with battle chi and placed it in a high-grade storage ring. I've obtained 2 more odd crystal fragments. This is the 10th fragment. Lin Shun kept the 2 odd crystal fragments. Consumed 10. 5 million rune energy to activate the level 6 phantom rune. After consuming the rune energy, Lin Shun's 5 clones quickly returned to their original state. The Dragon Emperor swallowed the bodies of the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion and turned back into a human to refine their energy to heal his injured body. Lin Shun opened the gold board. I'm on the board. Lin Shun was pleasantly surprised. He only tried to record the aura of his clones into the gold board to see if the gold board could see through the 1,000 illusion mask. It turned out that the 1,000 illusion mask was flawless. His clones had the same strength as him, but their auras were completely different. They were equivalent to 5 brand new geniuses. Even the Dragon Emperor could reach the top of the genius board after wearing the 1,000 illusion mask. The Black Horse Club was established. He was on the genius board. Lin Shun took out the War God wristband and hesitated for a moment before letting his clones wear it. The clones wore the War God wristband and didn't have any reaction. Lin Shen's guess was wrong, and he felt helpless. It seems that this War God wristband can only be used by my main body. It's a pity that if my clones could use it, I would be able to kill a saint with one punch. Lin Shen didn't doubt that when he wore the War God wristband in the ancient sacred hall, that punch definitely had the possibility of killing a saint. With just a single punch, he would die as well. He even planned to transfer this price to his clones, but it didn't seem realistic at the moment. Lin Shun cupped his fists toward the ancient sacred hall and left. 15 minutes later, Lin Shun and the girls gathered in the St. Qing mountain range. You and your people are really monsters. Even the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion were killed. Qin Jian couldn't help but exclaim. She had been paying attention to the changes in the genius board, and Lin Shen's change immediately attracted her attention. The Dark Pavilion is not an ordinary faction. Prince Lin Shun, please be careful. Qin Miao, who had not recovered from her injuries, reminded Lin Shun. He nodded and smiled. It's fine. We'll deal with it when it comes. Boom. At that moment, a spiral storm-like spatial light beam rotated above their heads and condensed, exploding with a spatial suction force. This is the time limit is up. Looks like we have to part. Prince Lin Shun, we'll meet again if fate wills it. Qin Miao, and her sister said goodbye, and the spatial light beam took them away. Then Lin Shun put his clones and the Dragon Emperor into his body and was teleported into the spatial tunnel with the Su sisters and Lung Yuqi. Ice Heart Palace, Heavenly Frost Mountain Range. The palace master of the Ice Heart Palace was graceful and slender. She was dressed in a snow-white robe and had the majesty of an ice queen. While floating in the air, she suddenly shouted coldly. Everyone from the Dark Pavilion, I wonder what business you have with my Ice Heart Palace today. As the palace master shouted, the Ice Heart Palace activated the Palace Protection Array and raised the alert to the highest level. A battle between saints was enough to destroy a part of the world. If they fought here, it would be disadvantageous to the entire Ice Heart Palace. All the Ice Heart Palace disciples in the palace were in fear and trepidation. Who was it that made the palace master come out personally? Chapter 868. Inside the Space Channel, Lin Shun and his group quickly returned to Ice Heart Palace. Lin Shun fell into silence with the 2 odd crystal fragments in his hand. If I refine these 2 odd crystal fragments, my strength will definitely soar by 2 levels, but I have a bad feeling about this. Lin Shun's premonition came from the genius list. He had killed too many people. Killing so many genius list geniuses at once, no one could guarantee that he wasn't being targeted by the saints. If the saints came knocking on his door, he had very limited means to contend against them. He only had 1 high-grade blue rank sure kill skill, Heavenly Ice Corrosion. Lin Shun opened the system. Heavenly Path Attribute Pickup System version 6. 0 host. Lin Shun Cultivation. Initial 9th level War Emperor Realm. Intermediate Battle Chi Essence. 519. 5 billion points. Limit Power. 19. 99 million Dragon Power. Intermediate Blood Energy. 647. 1 billion points. Intermediate Spiritual Power. 160 million points. Heaven Ascension Peak. Intermediate Cultivation Soul Essence. 2. 5 billion points. Intermediate Rune Energy. 3. 7 billion points. Elementary Heavenly Path Points. 1. 5 billion points. Elementary Talent Points. 2. 1 billion points. Blank Attribute. 0 points. Strengthening Points. 48,900 points. Intermediate Elemental Energy. 178. 5 million points for Fire. 139. 11 million points for Earth. 123. 66 million points for Wood. 191. 52 million points for Metal. 94. 4 million points for Water. 28. 8 million points for Lightning. 168. 09 million points for Wind. 15. 2 million points for Light. 166 million points for dark. Cultivation method status column, open. Bloodline status column, open. Passive talent column, open. Sure kill skill column, open. Active talent. Blue rank, Steel Omen. Blue rank, Fatal Bloodthirst. Purple rank, Super Dimensional Teleportation. Purple rank, Ultimate Moment. Purple rank, Ultimate Return. Purple rank, Sovereign's Descent, 24 days. Quasi-orange rank, Absolute Life and Death. Orange rank, Instant Light Split Shadows. Orange rank one-time use. Godslayer Fragment 1/3. Characteristic rune column, open. Talent combination skill. Fatal Bloodthirst, Super Dimensional Teleportation, Sovereign's Descent, Absolute Life, and Death. System, I want to decompose the water, odd crystal fragment. After weighing the pros and cons, Lin Shun first decomposed the water type odd crystal fragment. Consumed 5 million Heaven's Path points to decompose the odd crystal fragment. Obtained special attribute points. Sacred Wave Clear Water 8 million points for million Sacred Wave Clear Water attribute points, plus 50 million Heaven's Path points. Able to create the blue rank intermediate sure kill skill, Blue Tide. Its power can kill any combat emperor and is also effective against First Heaven Sage Realm experts. Lin Shin chose to create 2 sure kill moves of the blue rank, Emerald Tide, which consumed all his special attribute points and 100 million Heavenly Dao points. If this sure kill move was paired with his Heavenly Ice Corrosion, the combination of water and ice would have a miraculous effect. Another life-saving trump card. He wasn't in a hurry to absorb the Thunder attribute odd crystal fragment. Although he lacked Thunder attribute energy, he was now sure that decomposing the odd crystal fragment would allow him to obtain special attribute points to create a killing move. That's right, upgrade my talent. How could I have forgotten about this? Lin Shun slapped his thigh and immediately opened his talent pane. Most of his talents could be upgraded. Consumed 11 million Heaven's Path points and 39 million Heaven's Path points to upgrade the talent. God Stealing Omen to purple rank. Purple rank God Stealing Omen does not require the host to touch the target of stealing. The host needs to be within 10 miles of the target. Any living being with a higher cultivation than the host can use the ability to steal attribute points. Consumed 34 million Heaven's Path points and 99 million Heaven's Path points to upgrade the talent, Fatal Bloodthirst. Purple rank Fatal Bloodthirst can obtain 40 to 60% of the healing effect from the actual damage dealt. Consumed 40 million Heaven's Path points and 130 million Heaven's Path points to upgrade the talent. Extreme Origin Restoration to purple rank Advanced Talent. Extreme Origin Restoration can increase the healing effect on the basis of recovering battle chi, spiritual power, and weak flesh shell. Depending on the host condition, talent points will be consumed. Note, the healing effect is limited. If the host's injuries are too severe, such as a ruptured heart or a shattered battle chi source, it will exceed the healing range. Consumed 70 million Heaven's Path points and 200 million Heaven's Path points to upgrade the talent, Sovereign's Descent, to purple rank Advanced Talent. Sovereign's Descent's cooldown has been greatly reduced, and the amount of accumulated energy has been increased. Consumed 100 million Heaven's Path points and 370 million Heaven's Path points to upgrade the talent, Ultimate Moment, to purple rank Advanced Talent. Effect: activating Ultimate Moment requires a minimum of 10 million Heaven's Path points. The power of the cultivation technique will not change, but the host will obtain a temporary increase in pure strength and spiritual power. Failed to upgrade the talent, Absolute Life and Death. The talent's grade is too high, and the system is unable to upgrade it at this stage. In the end, after consuming 255 million Heaven's Path points and 468 million Heaven's Path points, Lin Shin's talent had been upgraded in all aspects. Extreme Origin Restoration can heal injuries. Sovereign's Descent's cooldown has been reduced. Fatal Bloodthirst recovery effect has been increased. An Ultimate Moment can even temporarily increase my pure strength and spiritual power. This is simply too awesome. Lin Chen was excited. Suddenly, a new doubt appeared in his heart. System, although my cultivation technique is currently plus 13, if I were to change my cultivation technique in the future, would the upgrade become invalid? Won't all my accumulations be wasted? System replies to the host. If the host were to change his cultivation technique, the host would not be able to inherit the upgrade. However, if the host were to change his cultivation technique, such as the 9 tribulations of creation to the Tai heaven concealing technique, all the base upgrade and attribute points would be added to the cultivation technique. Hiss! Lin Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. The system's reply could be said to have given Lin Chen a reassurance. If he were to cultivate an advanced cultivation technique, the upgrade of the cultivation technique would not be inherited. However, the enhancement effect would become the foundation of the cultivation technique and be integrated into the new advanced cultivation technique. For example, if Lin Chen had 1 billion elemental attribute points, the plus 13 cultivation technique would increase his attributes by 240%, which would be 1 billion plus 1 billion x 240% equals 4 billion elemental attribute points. This 4 billion elemental attribute points would form the foundation and be transferred into the advanced cultivation technique. After that, the advanced cultivation technique could continue to absorb the elemental attribute points and start from 0 again. To put it simply, the higher the elemental attribute points Lin Chen accumulated, the later he would change his cultivation technique, and the stronger the foundation of his cultivation technique. When that time came, Lin Chen might be able to shake off most of the orange tier cultivation techniques within the same tier by a large margin. This was not even taking into account the enhancement effect brought about by the enhancement effect. While the extremely strong base attribute points increased the foundation of the orange tier cultivation technique, after the enhancement effect would be even more heaven-defying. The Tai heaven concealing technique is divided into 5 scrolls. I only have 2 scrolls with me. I need at least 3 scrolls to be able to cultivate it. The only person I know who might have the whereabouts of is the Dean's friend who is imprisoned in the Sacred Penitentiary. The Sacred Penitentiary only imprisons saints. I can't enter even if I want to. Looks like if I want to change my cultivation technique, I'll have to at least step into the saint stage. Lin Chen sighed inwardly. Chapter 869. Thinking that there was still some time before he could change his cultivation method, Lin Chen sighed inwardly, but he wasn't discouraged. He had runes, talents, killing moves, strengthening abilities, and many other trump cards. Even if he didn't have an orange rank cultivation method, he could still compete with geniuses. What's more, he had obtained the permanent orange rank talent that he had always dreamed of. Reaching the top of the genius list, or even a monster list, was no longer an illusion. It was a path that he had to take. I need to seize the time to obtain more cultivation resources. Becoming stronger is the foundation. Lin Chen poured more first heaven holy water into the peach blossom pouch on the long Qing Shu and clear jade tree. The atmosphere in the heavenly Frost Mountain range was heavy. The palace master of Iceheart Palace had personally appeared, and the auras of the 3 grand elders roamed the heavenly Frost Mountain range. Hee, Schwen easy, you can't protect that brat. We only want Lin Chen. If you insist on protecting him, Iceheart Palace will fall from a 3rd grade sect to a 2nd grade sect, or even be destroyed. 2 shadows wriggled in the darkness as they laughed sinisterly. The palace master frowned. She didn't doubt the other party's strength. Hidden Pavilion had a large number of top assassins. If the upper echelons of Hidden Pavilion ordered the assassins to target Iceheart Palace for a long time, they would be able to destroy one of Iceheart Palace's foundations. However, she wasn't someone to be trifled with. She was very clear about Lin Chen's potential and the other party's goal. Lung Yuqi and Lin Chen had already established a relationship. With Lin Chen's potential, it was worth a gamble. The 7 heroes of Hidden Pavilion of a 4th grade sect have entered the secret realm of a 3rd grade sect. The Hidden Pavilion's actions are truly unflattering. Today, with me here, unless your old ancestor comes personally, You won't be able to take anyone away." The palace master's attitude was firm, and the atmosphere between the two sides immediately became tense. At this moment, a spatial beam descended on Ice Heart Palace, and 4 figures arrived in the heavenly Frost Mountain range. Lin Chun had returned. He walked in the air, and the 3 women were like stars surrounding the moon. His eyes were like the sun and moon, deep and bright. Boom! The wind and clouds were like the tip of a sword, heading straight for Ice Heart Palace. The gazes of his sages all landed on the silver-robed youth. He was calm and composed, and there was a cynical and confident smile on his face. Under the pressure of the saint's gaze, he did not waver at all. This child is Lin Chun. Very likely, since the Blue Moon-sealed realm is about to close, the space transmission will send people back the way they came. Among the group of Ice Heart Palace's juniors who were sent back, none of them could remain calm under our gaze. The 2 saints of Dark Pavilion were secretly observing, but before they could say anything, a furious voice resounded through Ice Heart Palace. "Lin Chun, did you kill Tian Xie and Qingming? You even attracted a Saint Realm expert for my Ice Heart Palace. I think you're trying to harm my Ice Heart Palace. Today, this old master will capture you first, you little bastard." It was Ji Qingming's master, Elder Gu Lin. At first, he found it hard to accept this fact. Gu Tianxie was his nephew, and Ji Qingming was his disciple. He was very clear about the strength of the two. Even if they were not Lin Chen's opponent, it would be easy for them to escape. However, he did not expect that they would both die. It was only when he saw Lin Chun become the young Pavilion Master of Dark Pavilion that he realized that Lin Chun was most likely pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Who would have thought that Lin Fan would just pick his ears and laugh nonchalantly? "I'm sorry. I've been killing people on the genius ranking recently. I forgot if I killed them while I was at it." Silence, a deathly silence ensued. When all the disciples of Ice Heart Palace heard this, they were all dumbfounded and their scalps went numb. Killing people on the genius ranking was a little easy? This was simply insane. What the F***CK are you talking about? Those were top geniuses that even the saints might not be able to cultivate. Ji Qingming's strength was witnessed by all the disciples of Ice Heart Palace. At such a young age, he had the strength to fight against an ordinary second tribulation combat emperor with his late 9th heaven cultivation. Only those on the genius ranking could fight someone 2 realms higher than them. What did he mean by a little easy? He was one of the top geniuses in the sacred boundary. It was not like he was killing a chicken. What did he mean by a little easy? F***CK. How could people like us, who look up to the genius ranking, live? Even the 2 saints of Dark Pavilion, who had not spoken, could not help but twitch their mouths. This little bastard was too arrogant. "You're courting death." Gu Lin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he furiously rushed over. Rip! The space was torn apart, blocking Lin Chen's path. A beautiful woman in a snow-white robe flew to Lin Chen's side and looked down at Elder Gu Lin. "Elder, Lin Chun is an honored guest of my palace. You have no right to touch him." Lung Yuqi immediately stood up and coldly warned, "Elder Gu Lin, in the Blue Moon trial, Ji Qingming joined forces with his cousin Ji Wu Tian, Gu Tianxie, and others to attack me. They threatened me to eat the Yin Gu and harm my fellow disciples." Once she said that, all the elders and even the palace master's faces changed. Murdering fellow disciples was a serious crime. Not to mention Lung Yuqi, a special true disciple who shouldered the heavy responsibility of revitalizing Ice Heart Palace. Just this point alone was enough to kill Ji Qingming. Whoosh! An ice barrier surrounded Elder Gu Lin as the palace master personally sealed his cultivation. She said in an ice-cold voice, "Elder Gu, your relationship with Gu Tianxie is not normal. This palace now suspects that you are related to this matter. So once this matter is over, perhaps you'll have to properly explain yourself." Elder Gu Lin's face turned pale. Boom! At this moment, the pressure on the Ice Heart Palace's protective energy barrier increased. The 2 saints of Dark Pavilion had made their move. High up in the sky, two black-robed figures appeared and questioned coldly. "You're Lin Shun, right? You have to pay the price for killing. Now, come with us to the dark pavilion and hand over the ancient saint's inheritance. This is your only chance to live." As the two saints questioned, the Ice Heart Palace master secretly sent a message to Lin Shun. "Little guy, because the dark pavilion violated the sect's rules, most of their top forces were involved. Only two saints came today. I believe in your relationship with Yu Qi, so I will not force you to join Ice Heart Palace. However, if you choose Ice Heart Palace today, we will ensure your safety." The palace master's message seemed to have been expected by the other party. The other saint of Dark Pavilion said coldly, "Don't think that we are the only ones here today. We have already notified the other sections. When the time comes, you will be hunted down by all the saints. Come with me and hand over the inheritance. This is your only chance." Lin Shun smiled mockingly. "Am I so handsome that the Dark Pavilion wants to treat me to a meal? If you want to kill me, just kill me. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" After saying that, an angry roar resounded throughout the heavenly frost mountain range. "Lin Shun, you little brat, return my grandson's life. Damn, you dare to kill my disciple? This old master wants to see what kind of heaven-defying skills you have." The angry roar, filled with killing intent, came menacingly. Rivers of ice rolled, and waves of fire surged. Thousands of strange phenomena appeared in the north and south of the mountain range. Holy light illuminated the sky. A red-browed old ancestor stepped forward, flames burning with every step he took. An old man in a white robe radiated a brilliant saint's aura. He stepped on a snowstorm and arrived like a hurricane. The Ice Heart Palace disciples' faces changed slightly. Two more saints had come. Lin Shun suddenly shouted coldly, "Get lost and line up. Damn, there are many saints looking for this father for revenge. Who do you two think you are?" Hearing this, the mouths of all the elders and disciples of Ice Heart Palace twitched. Two saints looking for a combat emperor to seek revenge, and they still had to line up. What kind of trouble did he cause? This Lin Shun was simply too arrogant. However, almost everyone's doubts were dispelled. Maybe he was the one who killed the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion that day. Maybe he was the one who killed the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. Lin Shun looked directly at the two saints of the Hidden Pavilion. He took a step forward and casually pulled the palace master's snow-white hand behind him. He spoke in a domineering manner. "It's not time for women to interfere in men's affairs." The palace master looked at the side of the young man's face in astonishment. There was a domineering look between his brows. The young man's childish side profile glowed with arrogance. It was as if she saw the figure of her first love that had disappeared in the river of memories. Lin Shun stepped out of the dark tribulation vortex and rushed out of the Ice Heart Palace's protective energy barrier. At this moment, the Ice Heart Palace's higher-ups were shocked. He pointed at the 4 saints in the surrounding void and laughed maniacally. "When the people of the Black Horse Club fight, we never ask about the number of people or cultivation. We only ask about the time and place. We don't care about life and death. If you don't accept it, then fight. All of you come up here. I will give you absolute fairness. I alone am enough to fight all of you." Hearing this, all the elders and disciples of Ice Heart Palace were shocked. 1 emperor against 4 saints. Chapter 870. Countless elders and disciples wondered if they had heard it wrong. The battle emperor provoking the saints was akin to an old man trying to hang himself. Elder Gu Lin, a veteran 5th Tribulation Battle Emperor, had no chance of resisting the palace master who was in the Saint Realm. It could be seen that there was a huge gap between the Saint Realm and the Emperor Realm. "Lin Shun, you can't." The palace master of the Ice Heart Palace wanted to go to Lin Shun's side, but she was stopped by Lung Yueqi. "Palace master, trust him. He would never act rashly. If we insist on going up, wouldn't we be letting him down?" Lung Yueqi smiled sweetly. The palace master was stunned. It was the first time she had seen Lung Yueqi smile. "Ha ha ha. Interesting, really interesting. I've never seen such an arrogant young man in so many years." Even the top geniuses of the genius ranking have to bow before a saint. Who do you think you are? The two saints of the dark pavilion were so angry that they laughed. It was as if they had seen an ant shouting at a giant dragon. Cut the crap. I'll cripple this brat's legs first and make him pay for my dead grandson. Red Brow Ancestor roared angrily. Tens of thousands of red flame tornadoes appeared in the void around him. He stretched out his 5 fingers and condensed them into a huge flaming palm. The saint's attack was like the wrath of the heavens. The destructive power of the flaming palm made every disciple of the Ice Heart Palace feel despair. You are really ruthless. However, I will make your 4 saints retreat today. Blue Tide Rise. The host has activated the blue rank intermediate sure kill skill, Blue Tide Rise. 4 enemies have been locked onto the host. Lin Shin suddenly activated his killing technique. From the space in front of him, water splashed everywhere without any warning. Waves rolled up in the sky, rolling up tens of thousands of waves in the void. It contained an extraordinary and profound power that pushed forward. The waves swept across the sky and crashed into the 4 sages from all directions. They swallowed the giant flaming palm alive, causing the 4 sages to be surprised at the same time. Not bad. No wonder you're so arrogant. However, this kind of attack can't stop us. The 2 saints of the dark pavilion sneered as their figures flashed. As Saint Realm assassins, their movement techniques and concealing aura were their strongest areas. They were planning to pincer Lin Shun. The host has consumed 3 billion points of rune energy to activate the slow rune. Boom! At this moment, the sun and moon sank while the heavens and the earth were devoid of light. A vast and overbearing grayish-white talisman descended from the sky, and it suppressed the ages and froze the world. The space within 100,000 feet became extremely congealed and slow. The 4 sages paused, and the 2 sages of the dark pavilion finally revealed shocked expressions. What move is this? A mere war emperor can seal space? No, my holy chi has also slowed down. Before the 4 saints could recover from their shock, the surging jade tide instantly drowned the 4 saints, and an enormous destructive impact crashed into their sacred bodies. But that alone wasn't enough to threaten the 4 saints. Almost at the same time that the jade tide drowned the 4 sages, the world was filled with cold air, as if it wanted to freeze and seal everything in ice. The host has activated the high-grade blue rank sure kill technique, Heavenly Een Ice Corrosion. With a whoosh, goose feather snowflakes danced in the sky, and a beam of cold Een light suddenly appeared above the 4 saints' heads, shining down on them. All the disciples and elders of the Ice Heart Palace were filled with fear and shock. Their Ice Heart Palace cultivated the Ice Heart technique, and they could be considered the least afraid of the cold among those of the same level. But at this moment, the cold Een energy hovering above the 4 saints' heads made them feel a chill that could freeze everything. It was a chill that represented fear, and it seeped into the depths of their brains. And this was under the premise that the palace's protective energy barrier was in place. Otherwise, the cold energy alone would be enough to freeze countless disciples into ice sculptures. He actually had this move up his sleeve. This is the ultimate cold energy, and it's enough to threaten the early stage of the Second Heaven Saint realm. This kid's foundation is endless. Even the 3 supreme elders of the sage stage were shocked and lost their voices in the void. The ice explosion beam suddenly penetrated the 4 saints and locked onto their auras, making it impossible for them to escape. Boom, boom, bang. The sky turned cold and the earth cracked. Water flooded the mountains. Ice shook the sky, and energy covered the sky. The terrifying ice and water energies exploded, setting off a wave of destruction. Countless attribute light balls rolled out like waves, and there were hundreds and thousands of them. Some of the attribute light balls fell near Lin Chun like raindrops, and he kept collecting them. Host has received 5 billion intermediate battle chi essence, 8 billion intermediate battle chi essence, 29. 5 million intermediate fire attribute energy, 1 billion intermediate blood attribute energy, 98. 5 million intermediate soul essence, 49. 55 million elementary talent points, 35 million elementary heavens path points, 3 billion battle chi essence, 17,866 strengthening points, 18,440 blank attribute points. Congratulations, host, for breaking through to the middle stage of the ninth heaven. The moment Lin Chun collected these attribute light balls, his eyes lit up. In the blink of an eye, he had received more than 800 billion intermediate battle chi essence, breaking through to the middle stage of the ninth heaven with irresistible force. This abnormal breakthrough speed made Lin Chun unable to suppress his ecstasy, and he laughed wildly. Ha, awesome, really awesome. Fighting Saints is so F***king awesome. Everyone in the Ice Heart Palace felt their scalps go numb when they heard Lin Chen's wild laughter. Crazy, he must be crazy. They had never seen a battle emperor who could suppress a Saint Realm cultivator. This simply defied common sense. More importantly, the four saints were delayed by Lin Chen's delaying rune. No one had expected that a battle emperor brat could freeze the void, let alone stop their battle chi circulation. This completely defied common sense. Translator's thoughts, Lu_Kaixuan, Lu_Kaixuan as a result. The four saints were defenseless and took the two sure kill moves head-on, causing them to be injured. Under normal circumstances, even if they couldn't avoid the sure kill moves, they could still defend themselves. Blue Tide superimposed on Heavenly Een ice corrosion. 1 water and 1 ice, the power doubled. Coupled with the delaying rune's instant restriction, it created a chain reaction effect. Enough! Amir Jr. dares to be so arrogant. If I don't kill you, this old master won't be a saint. Die! This old master will definitely kill you. The furious roars of the four saints could be heard as their saint chi surged. Boundless saint might was like a sword being unsheathed, cutting through the clouds. The four saints broke through the restriction of the delaying rune. Pum! The moment they broke through the restriction, the four saints joined forces and broke through the two sure kill moves from different directions. The four saints appeared to be in a slightly sorry state. Their clothes were torn, blood flowed from the corners of their mouths, and cold chi entered their bodies. Their faces were slightly pale. Countless disciples sucked in a breath of cold air. The four saints were actually injured. They stared at Lin Chen's back with eyes that were close to worship and fanaticism. At this moment, it wasn't an exaggeration to say that they had witnessed history, a battle emperor against a Saint Realm cultivator, and he had even injured the other party. Throughout the countless eras of the sacred boundary, only those monstrous saints who almost went against the heavenly Tao could do such a thing. However, Lin Chun had also done it. Although he was on the genius list, he was even better than the genius list. And the most terrifying thing was that he actually had the upper hand in a 1 versus 4 battle. A deity descending to the mortal world. One emperor fighting against 4 saints. Boom! At this moment, a brilliant golden light shone above Lin Chen's head, and his name on the genius list appeared. Genius list 84680. Lin Chun, affiliation, Black Horse Club, sect grade. Unknown, cultivation, mid-stage 9th stage. Title, deity descending. Title, deity descending. Chapter 871. Everyone in Iceheart Palace, except for the honorary disciples, had a golden proclamation. The golden proclamation was refined by a Saint Realm Almighty, so the information it collected was very special and directly affected people's most direct impressions. The titles of all the geniuses on the Genius Proclamation were not given by people, but were based on the first impressions of the masters who held the golden proclamation. Only when the impressions of more than 1,000 masters were highly unified and recognized would they be given a title. For example, Ice Pupil, Lan Ruashue, Blue Sea Ruler, Water Heaven So, and Extreme Star Sword, Ji Qingming. The titles above were all taken from the first impressions of the masters who held the Golden Proclamation. Moreover, the impressions that shook one's soul could not be faked, which ensured absolute fairness in the titles. Lin Chen's title was God Descended. Only these 4 words could represent the feelings of everyone in Ice Heart Palace at this moment. 1 emperor against 4 saints, and the ones who were at a disadvantage were all saints. If this was not a god descending, then what was? How strong is this boy? A world-shaking monster. He is definitely a world-shaking monster. My Ice Heart Palace must protect him with all our strength. This is our only chance to rise. The 3 grand elders of Ice Heart Palace were shocked and overjoyed. They had made the right bet. Lin Chen was truly a monstrous genius. If it was said that those criminals from the holy prison had died in his hands, none of the Sage Realm elders would have any doubts. The palace master's beautiful eyes flashed with a complicated light as she whispered, "This boy will definitely stir up chaos in the mystic domain and even the 36 domains. The balance formed by those top monsters may be broken because of him. Don't worry, you will suffer. Let's go for the second round." Lin Chun laughed domineeringly, like an overlord who controlled the wind and clouds. His fanatical fighting spirit could be said to be overflowing. Along with his maniacal laughter, the Jade Sea Tempest, which had locked onto the 4 sages, appeared once more. Lin Chun had unleashed a second Jade Sea Tide. The 4 saints frowned, and the corners of their mouths twitched. Damn, this boy still has more? He can use such an abnormal killing move twice in a row. Most importantly, from his aura, it was as if he had not paid any price at all. Retreat. We won't be able to take him down today. Let's go back and accumulate strength. We'll ask the ancestor for help. Damn it. How can this brat be so strong? I don't believe that he can hide forever. Let's go. The 4 saints looked at each other. With the wisdom of the saints, they immediately understood that it was almost impossible to take Lin Chen away in the current situation. Ice Heart Palace was nearby, and with the 4 of them injured and this boy showing such heaven-defying strength, Ice Heart Palace would definitely protect him. Under such circumstances, they would not be able to take Lin Chen away. They originally thought that with 4 saints present, 3 saints would delay Ice Heart Palace, while 1 saint would easily take down Lin Chen. Who would have thought that this kid would turn the tables on them? Who would have thought that an ant-like battle emperor would be so powerful? The 4 saints unleashed their holy power defenses and forcibly blocked the Emerald Tide. Seeing that they had lost all will to fight, Lin Chen activated Silent Step and charged towards the 4 saints. Countless people were dumbfounded. A battle emperor actually dared to take the initiative to charge towards 4 saints? Lin Chen taking the initiative to attack confirmed the 4 saints' suspicions. This boy still had a trump card. Lin Chen's eyes suddenly narrowed as he stared straight at the 4 saints. Consumed 138 million elementary talent points. Used purple tier innate skill, divine stealing omen on 4 targets. Obtained 100 million intermediate water attribute energy, 20 gold saint origin coins, 300 million intermediate cultivation technique soul essences, 100 million intermediate fire attribute energy. Shwa, shwa, shwa. The moment Lin Chen successfully activated his innate skill, the 4 saints tore through space and escaped into the endless void. Everyone stared blankly at the suddenly empty sky. The setting sun shone upon the silhouette of the silver-robed youth, making him appear extraordinarily handsome and dazzling. He was like a banished immortal descending to the mortal world, yet he also had a different kind of spirit and tyrannical aura. It really made people exclaim in admiration. What a godly person who fought the 4 saints alone. Lin Chen, who was like a god in the eyes of countless people, looked handsome and high-spirited, but in fact, he was panicking inside. He even let out a sigh of relief. Damn it, they finally ran away. If they insist on fighting, I don't have a second Heavenly Ice Erosion. When Lin Chen used his second killing move, at least half of it was a bluff. He didn't have a second Heavenly Ice Erosion, and he couldn't use a slowing rune with 3 billion intermediate rune energy. The Emerald Tide alone wouldn't be able to stop the attacks of the four saints. If even one of the four saints still had the slightest desire to attack, he would have exposed himself. It was just that he didn't need to pay any price to activate his killing move, which made the four saints wary of him. In addition, Lin Shun took the initiative to attack, which made the four saints think that he had something to rely on. Looking at the overall situation, they instantly analyzed that it would be difficult to take away Lin Shun today. They came quickly and retreated quickly. Most of the saints were old monsters, and when they had to do something that had a very small chance of success and a huge price to pay, most of them would choose to retreat. Although Lin Shun still had a lightning odd crystal fragment that could be decomposed into special attribute values, he wouldn't use it unless it was a last resort. Lin Shun didn't say anything and released the Dragon Emperor to collect the attribute light balls scattered in the void. In the end, his cultivation stopped at the peak of the middle stage of level 9, and he gained more than 400 million Heaven Path points and talent points respectively. Although he gained a lot of rune energy because he used the strongest level 6 slowing rune in history, he only had 600 million points left. Fire, dark, lightning, and water attributes, the four intermediate elemental attributes, had increased by 150 million points. Water and fire attributes also gained an additional 100 million points. The intermediate blood energy had increased by more than 100 billion points, but his pure strength still hadn't broken through, and he had obviously fallen into a huge bottleneck. These were the attribute light balls dropped by injuring a saint without any side effects. It was just so perverted. Just the elemental attribute growth alone was comparable to Lin Shun refining 4 top odd crystal fragments. To put it bluntly, Lin Shun's combat strength had more than doubled after this battle. This growth is too terrifying. If I can one day kill a saint with the strength of an Emperor realm, how terrifying would the attribute light balls be? Lin Shun fantasized in his heart, but it was only a thought. If he didn't have a killing move, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to stand in front of a saint. The difference between a battle emperor and a saint was like heaven and earth. Lin Shun, are you okay? The palace master stepped on the air and looked at the youth with a complicated expression. It's fine. Handsome people have tough lives. Lin Shun smiled. The Su sisters asked worriedly. Class monitor, you can't go on like this. There might be more forces that want to deal with you. The Four Directions Conference is right now. Class monitor, why don't you participate? The Four Directions Conference is jointly organized by the high-end sects of the mysterious domain. If you participate, those saints won't dare to find trouble with you for the time being. Indeed, other experts might not dare to touch Lin Shun because he had the Black Horse Club behind him. But the Su sisters knew about Lin Chen's background. The Black Horse Club was completely fabricated by Lin Shun. If he really encountered a Saint Realm expert, Lin Shun would have to face them personally. No matter how heaven-defying he was still a battle emperor and not a saint. Chapter 872. Especially since Lin Shun had offended the Hidden Pavilion. Just think about it. Being targeted by a Saint Realm assassin, that kind of feeling, perhaps even a Saint Realm expert would have to be vigilant at all times, let alone Lin Shun. Moreover, the failure of the four saints this time was mainly because the Hidden Pavilion's higher-ups had violated the sect's rules and were held accountable by the top forces. Therefore, some powerful saints couldn't leave. But the next time they met the Hidden Pavilion's powerhouses, it wouldn't be just four saints. At the very least, the Hidden Pavilion wouldn't touch Lin Shun at the Quadrilateral Conference. If they did, it would be a challenge to all the joint sections. The Hidden Pavilion didn't have the resources to challenge all the forces. You do have to attend the Quadrilateral Conference. Maybe you'll meet the people from Class 66 there. Lung Yuechi's smile was like a flower. Her beautiful lips curved into a sweet arc, as if she was thinking of the past of this naughty student. Oh, everyone will attend the Quadrilateral Conference? Interesting. How can I be absent? Lin Chen's fighting spirit was high. The palace lord shook her head and smiled. She lifted her hand slightly and took out a list. With your strength, you'll definitely gain something if you attend the Quadrilateral Conference. These are the prizes for the top 100, each of them excellent. The palace lord handed the list to Lin Chen. He flipped through it curiously. The top 100 prizes included 8th grade Saint or half-orange grade techniques, top grade purple grade alchemy handprints, and even quasi-8th grade pills. It was very tempting. However, when Lin Chen saw the name of the technique in the 47th place, he was stunned. The Azura clan's secret technique, the Azura 9 Brilliance transformations, is missing the 9th part of the cultivation method from the 1st to the 8th transformation. Lin Chen was stunned. The Quadrilateral Conference had the 8th chapter of the Shura 9 Brilliance transformations. It seems that I have to attend this grand event. It just so happens that I'm not strong enough to fight against a Saint Realm expert. So, I'll try to buy as much time as I can. Lin Chen was well aware of the power of the Azura 9 Brilliance transformation. After the 5 transformations, every transformation brought about a terrifying increase in power. The increase in power of the 7th transformation was almost equal to 2/3 of the total power of the previous 6 transformations. If he could obtain the 8th transformation, Lin Chen wouldn't be eliminated even if he used this secret technique until he reached the Saint Realm. On the contrary, it would become a powerful trump card. Since we've decided, there's no time to lose. Let's set off immediately. The palace lord waved her hand, and an old woman of the Saint Realm appeared with a beautiful figure. Lin Chen had seen this woman before. She was one of the emissaries representing Ice Heart Palace who had descended to the mortal world to recruit him. Prince Lin Chen, how have you been? The beautiful woman bowed and nodded. Lin Chen nodded and smiled. I understand the cause of this matter. Many thanks to your excellency for bringing elder sister Yu Qi back and forth to Ice Heart Palace to treat her injuries. This Lin will not forget this kindness. Hearing this, the old woman and the palace master were overjoyed. To be able to befriend Lin Chen, it couldn't be better. In the past, Lung Yuqi's cultivation had been crippled by the fake divinity family, and she had been seriously injured. Lin Chen had been unable to save her life, but he had been unable to restore her cultivation. It was this woman who had taken her and Su Lan away that allowed Lung Yuqi to be where she was today. No matter what, this was a kindness. Lin Chen would repay kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. He, Lin Chen, would never delay. Here is a gift for you, elder sister. Lin Chen handed a simple scroll to the beautiful woman. Everyone looked at it and exclaimed, Blood Demon Doppelganger Technique. This was Shao Qing's famous consummate skill. As long as one's own blood essence was used, they could condense a doppelganger that could pass off as the real thing. It was a life-saving secret art that was famous throughout the mortal world. Unexpectedly, Lin Chen had taken out such a precious treasure, causing the old woman to look at him in a new light. Lin Chen had the Phantom Rune, so this item was of little use to him, so he might as well give it to her. Little friend, our Ice Heart Palace was not wrong about you, the old woman said with a sigh. She had faintly agreed with the other Supreme Elder's opinion of suppressing Lin Chen, but now that she thought about it, she still felt some lingering fear. Let's talk about it after we depart. The palace master flicked her sleeve and opened a space channel, leading Su Lan, Lung Yuqi, Lin Chen, and the others into it. After the palace master left, the figures of the 2 Supreme Elders slowly descended. Countless Ice Heart Palace disciples reluctantly withdrew their gazes. What they had seen today would definitely become an unforgettable day for them. Inside the space channel, Saint Qi formed a scroll of ice on which everyone stood as the palace master patiently explained. The 4-way summit will be held at the border between Xuanyu and the Mystic Domain, so it will take some time. Our departure this time can be considered late, so it will take about half a month. Lin Chen was puzzled. Half a month? Why is it so long? Seeing Lin Chen's puzzled expression, the old woman and the palace master were surprised. The Saint Realm old woman said in surprise, Lin Chen, you don't know? This is because we are at the border of the Mystic Domain. If it were any further, we would have to depart a few months in advance. This answer stunned Lin Shun. They had to depart a few months in advance to participate in a summit? How big was the mystic domain? Prince Lin Shun, you don't need to be surprised. The 36 domains of the sacred boundary are extremely vast, and the space is extremely solid. It is extremely difficult to open a long-distance space channel, and most space channels are short distances. If we use the first Heaven Saint realm as the standard, it would take 70 years to travel around the mystic domain, and this is just circling, not exploring. The sacred boundary has 36 domains, and most of them are even larger than the mystic domain. There are still many unknown regions. Hearing the old woman's explanation, Lin Shun was shocked. A Saint Realm expert could travel at a speed that was many times faster than when he used infinite silent steps. Even so, he still had to fly for 70 years to travel around the mystic domain. Wouldn't it take a few thousand years to travel around the 36 domains? Moreover, saints couldn't fly for thousands of years without rest. The mortals of the sacred boundary might not even be able to cross a single domain. Lin Shun was speechless. As expected of the land of human civilization that had existed for countless eras. It was no wonder that it had given birth to the top 100,000 geniuses on the genius list, as well as the demon list. Since there's still some time before we arrive, I'll cultivate first. Lin Shun sat down and activated the God-stealing omen on the Saint Realm Old Woman and the Palace Master. Consumed 79 million elementary talent points. Stolen attribute points. 100 million rune energy. 300,000 strengthening points. Lin Shun almost laughed out loud. I can activate the God-stealing omen as long as I'm 10 miles away from the target. Haha! I don't even need to touch the target to steal their attribute points. Although it can only be used once, I can still steal a lot of attribute points from Saint. The Conference of the Four Powers was of a high standard, and there would definitely be a Saint present. The more Saints there were, the more fun it would be for him to steal. Opening the peach blossom plant pouch, the clear jade tree had grown to over 120 meters. With the help of the heavenly One Holy Water, its growth time had been shortened by at least 1,000 times. The Longqing Shu had grown to 65 meters, and its leaves were lush. It had begun to grow, and it bore at least 50,000 silver Saint Origin coins. Then, Lin Shun saw 10 colorful fruits on the main branch of the Longqing Shu. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. This is the Long Qinghua. Chapter 873. Low-grade Long Qinghua was the size of a lychee. Its fruit was glowing with vibrant colors and contained a strong vitality energy. Long Qinghua was not an ordinary heavenly treasure. It contained the aura of a dragon and had the miraculous effect of regrowing flesh and bones. It was a miraculous item for healing injuries and was also very effective for saints. However, it also had another miraculous effect. Every spiritual plant of destiny produced a large amount of silver Saint Origin coins and a large number of medicinal herbs. The clear jade tree produced the clear jade dew. It could cleanse the mind of impurities and remove the negative effects of the mind, making the mind purer. It could be condensed more efficiently during battle or cultivation. Longqing Shu was a special product of Long Qinghua. In addition to its miraculous effect of regrowing flesh and bones, its second effect was that it could permanently increase the strength of one's body and loosen the bottleneck infinitely. It had no resistance and could be consumed forever. It was a sacred item in the hearts of countless body-refining martial artists. Long Qinghua's energy was gentle. Even a 3-year-old child could consume it. It was a true top-grade spiritual item in the world. One of it was comparable to many top-grade pills. When I reach my peak, my Longqing Shu will produce Long Qinghua more efficiently. It will be enough to support me until I reach the Saint Realm. It can even benefit the people around me. Lin Shun took out 2 Long Qinghua and swallowed them. 5-colored light flowed throughout his body. Waves of warmth flowed into his limbs and bones, nourishing his flesh and blood perfectly. This energy did not even need to be refined by Lin Shun. It was gentle and condensed, automatically merging into his body. This is Long Qingguo. The old woman who was secretly observing was shocked. This kid even had the extremely rare Long Qingguo. She was almost certain that this kid must have an extremely powerful force supporting him. The Black Horse Club. I've never heard of this force before. It's scary because it's unknown. To be able to cultivate so many geniuses on the genius ranking, it might be a hidden sect with at least a 4th grade foundation. No, it might be a 5th grade foundation. In addition, it's very likely that he has the inheritance of an ancient saint. We must be on good terms with him. Su Lan, Lung Yueqi, and Su Lan also entered a state of cultivation. They had gained a lot from the Blue Moon trial. Each of them had close to 100,000 Saint Origin coins, and they had obtained countless cultivation techniques and rare treasures. Lung Yueqi also obtained a Sky, Frost, Odd crystal fragment. After refining it, her cultivation would soar. The next day, Lin Shen held the beautiful woman's delicate hand and smiled innocently. Sister Yueqi, close your eyes and silently recite Lin Shen is the most handsome 1,000 times in your heart. Then, your cultivation method will succeed. The corners of the palace master and the gray-robed old woman's mouths twitched. What kind of cultivation method was this? Lung Yueqi giggled. Then, she actually closed her eyes and chanted in her heart according to Lin Chen's instructions. Consumed 1.03 billion intermediate cultivation method soul essences, beginning to fuse with target's cultivation memories. Boom! A sea of cultivation memories poured into Lung Yueqi's mind. She didn't even need to cultivate. She only needed to absorb these cultivation memories, and her understanding of her half-orange grade mental cultivation method, Peerless Ice Soul, skyrocketed. As for Lin Shun, he continued to count his spoils of war. System, fuse all the alchemy handprints I have at this stage. Consumed 64 million Heaven's Path points. Fused 3 purple intermediate high-grade alchemy handprints for purple high-grade alchemy handprints and 2 purple top-grade low-grade alchemy handprints. Fusion complete. Host has obtained Waterwood Dual Attribute top-grade high-grade alchemy handprint, Myriad 4 pure seal. Consumed 20 million intermediate cultivation method soul essences. Beginning to fuse with Myriad 4 pure seals cultivation memories. Next time passed. Lin Shen didn't waste a single second. He continuously watered the 2 spirit plants with Tianyi holy water, and more than half of the stored Tianyi holy water had been consumed. However, the large amount of Silver Saint Origin coins obtained from watering the Tianyi holy water and the clones he released in the Peach Blossom pouch to refine the Silver Saint Origin coins with him, causing Lin Shen's Battle Chi Essence attribute to skyrocket. He broke through a new round of trillions of Battle Chi Essence. Lin Shen's main body fused with the cultivation memories while his clones absorbed the Silver Saint Origin coins. With a clear division of labor, his cultivation speed skyrocketed. On the 3rd day, Lin Shun took out a sword manual. This was the half-orange grade sword skill he had obtained from the battle with the fake god. Sword Fury raises the heavens. With Lin Shen's current foundation, if he mastered this half-orange grade battle skill, he would be able to unleash a power that was close to or equal to an orange grade battle skill. This was the case for the Mirror Moon Imperial God of the Mirror Moon. Consumed 590 million intermediate cultivation method soul essences. Beginning to fuse with Sword Fury raises the heavens cultivation memories. On the 6th day, Lin Chun officially stepped into late 9th level combat emperor. On the 7th day, Lin Shun consumed a total of 23 Long Qingguo, leaving him with 8 left. His physical strength had exceeded 23 million dragon power points. On top of that, Lin Shun had refined all the myriad green jasper dew, increasing his spirit by 45 million points. This scene left the palace master and the sage stage elder dumbfounded. What kind of cultivation speed was this? Even if he had sufficient cultivation resources, there would still be a process to it. The higher the elemental attributes absorbed by Lin Chen's 9 calamities of creation, the stronger the cultivation method, the higher the efficiency of absorbing spirit qi, not to mention the 5 clones cultivating at the same time. However, what happened next almost made the palace master and the gray-robed old woman go crazy. Boom! The ice spirit divine light, which was shaking violently, rushed into the space tunnel and wandered around like silk threads. Every strand of ice spirit divine light contained the power to freeze mountains. Complete cultivation method? The palace master murmured in a trembling voice. Her beautiful eyes stared at Lung Yueqi in disbelief. She knew very well what this phenomenon meant. Lung Yueqi's peerless ice spirit cultivation method had been cultivated to perfection. However, in the history of the Ice Heart Palace, no one had ever managed to cultivate it when they were still in the Combat Emperor realm. Even the founder of the Ice Heart Palace, who was ranked 10,001st in the genius ranking, did not have such aptitude. She had only reached perfection after entering the Sage realm. Now, this cultivation method had been cultivated to perfection by a Combat Emperor realm disciple. How is this possible? This was simply heaven-defying. Although Lung Yueqi's 9 absolute cold meridians physique was said to have the potential to surpass the founder, how many years had she been in the Ice Heart Palace? Being able to cultivate the peerless ice spirit cultivation method was already a top-notch talent. The palace master had even spent nearly 100 golden Saint Origin coins on Lung Yueqi's cultivation method. No, although Yueqi's 9 absolute cold meridians physique is powerful, she has not completely entered the peak of her bloodline. Her previous performance was strong, but not heaven-defying. The only exception is him. The gray-robed old woman and the palace master turned their heads almost at the same time and stared at Lin Shun, who was cultivating with his eyes closed on the other side of the ice breath painting. He remained unperturbed, as if he wasn't surprised at all. He continued to concentrate on cultivating. Lin Shun did not pay attention to them. This was all within his expectations. Is it really possible for a Combat Emperor realm cultivator to cultivate a half-orange grade cultivation method to perfection in just a few days? The palace master and the gray-robed old woman were shocked. This was not just cultivating a cultivation method to entry level in just a few days, but perfection. The palace master had personally experienced how difficult it was to cultivate a half-orange grade cultivation method. She had only comprehended it to perfection 3,000 years ago. To be able to achieve such results in just a few days, perhaps only the legendary true gods could do it. The palace master and the gray-robed old woman exclaimed from the bottom of their hearts, "He is truly a true god, descending to the mortal world." Chapter 874. Dark Pavilion, Life and Death Valley. The valley was dead silent today, and the atmosphere was extremely depressing. There wasn't even a single disciple. In the main hall in the center of the valley, a group of people with auras like the sun and moon gathered. They were all saints, and there were more than 10 of them. The reason for gathering everyone is very simple. Let's join forces to deal with that Lin Chenbrat. After we succeed, we'll share the ancient saint's method of cultivating odd crystals and form an alliance. How about that? At the head of the hall, an old man shrouded in black spoke. Dark Pavilion Master, how can you be so sure that he doesn't have a powerful force behind him? To be able to cultivate 7 geniuses on the genius list, it must be at least a 4th-grade sect. If you drag us into the vortex of destruction, how can we join forces? Furthermore, that brat just defeated your Dark Pavilion and 2 other saints. How can you be sure that we can succeed? Several saints questioned, and the Dark Pavilion Master smiled sinisterly. Are all of you willing to let your geniuses be killed by that brat? If all of you join forces, unless it's a 5th-grade sect, you won't be able to suppress us. Furthermore, the secret technique of cultivating odd crystals. Don't you want it? Don't you know the value of a low-grade, odd crystal? If you can obtain this secret technique, you won't have to worry about cultivation resources in the future. You've been a saint for millions of years. Have you ever seen such an opportunity in history? The dark pavilion master's voice was full of temptation, and all the saints hesitated. The temptation of cultivating odd crystals was too fatal. Indeed, as the dark pavilion master said, this was an unprecedented opportunity. Even after they became saints, this was a peerless opportunity that could only be encountered by chance. If they obtained the secret technique of cultivating odd crystals, they would be promoted to a fourth-grade sect and have a breakthrough in their cultivation. This time, my Dark Pavilion's 27th ancestor will personally take action. With him taking action, there will be no mistakes in capturing this brat. The Dark Pavilion Master's words were shocking, and many saints were emotional. The 27th ancestor, that old monster isn't dead yet. If he makes a move, the situation will be different. The saints fell into deep thought. The Dark Pavilion Master laughed again. At that time, if my Dark Pavilion violates the rules and everyone attacks together, even as a fourth-grade sect, it will be difficult for my Dark Pavilion to withstand. If there's an expert behind that kid, just hand him over to my Dark Pavilion ancestor. There shouldn't be a problem with this alliance, right? The Pavilion Master took turns to persuade the saints. In the end, in less than 15 minutes, all the saints decided to join the secret pavilion. That was because the heritage of an ancient sage was simply too tempting. Whoosh! A black shadow appeared, and the assassin knelt on one knee. Reporting to the Pavilion Master, according to our spies, Lin Shun has been taken to the venue of the four-way meeting by the Palace Master of Ice Heart Palace. The Pavilion Master waved his hand, and the assassins retreated. The Conference of the Four Powers? Hee, I'll let you live for a while longer. A huge storm was approaching Lin Shun. Led by the Hidden Pavilion, more than 5 rank 3 sects had locked onto Lin Shun. If this news were to spread, it would shake all the powers in the mystic realm. In the history of the 36 regions of the Sacred Boundary, more than 10 Saint Realm experts had set their sights on a single war emperor. On the 14th day of Lin Shun's departure, the Conference of the Four Powers was held at the 10,000 Sun Plaza. The plaza was flat and covered an area of 10,000 miles. There were many pavilions on both sides of the plaza. This was one of the areas where the Mystic Realm and Xuanyu intersected. The plaza was packed with people. This conference was jointly organized by 6 rank 4 sects and 20 rank 3 sect from Xuanyu and the Mystic Realm. Up until now, more than 10,000 prodigies had signed up for the conference. The conference's standards were extremely high. If one did not have a recommendation from a large sect, they would need to go through many tests before they could sign up. On the 10,000 Sun Street, there were 2 beauties, one in green and one in red, one in motion. The girl in red was jumping up and down, holding the girl in green who was covering her mouth and giggling. Linner, look, that puppy is so weird. Why is its head on its stomach? And that crow, why is its but green? The girl in red chattered while the girl in green covered her mouth and giggled. The 2 beauties attracted the attention of many people. Some people even recognized that these 2 were geniuses on the genius ranking. Miss Lin, long time no see. This young master has missed you. A beautiful flower was placed in front of the 2 beauties. A fat man in yellow robes walked towards the 2 beauties with a smile on his face. The girl in red frowned slightly. There was a faint glow in her palm. The girl in green immediately held her hand and signaled with her eyes. The former rolled her eyes and said to the fat man in yellow robes, Lien Daiwa, you're so annoying. This young lady already said that I'm not interested in you. Are you asking for a snub? This name immediately attracted countless surprised and shocked gazes from the street. Lien Daiwa? Could it be that Lien Daiwa from the Extreme Heaven Pavilion? Is he for real? Hiss, I'm so lucky to see him in person today. I heard that he's the son of a rank 4 Chamber of Commerce. While everyone was shocked, the fat man in yellow robes calmed down and said with a sincere tone, Miss Lin, if you become my woman, you'll be the young madam of the Chamber of Commerce. You can have anything you want. Every month, you'll spend 30,000 Saint Origin coins. Even if you want to be the Palace Master of the 1,000 Charm Palace, I'll support you with all my strength. Lien Daihua's offer made countless people gasp in shock. 30,000 Saint Origin coins a month? Damn, he made it sound like money was a stone. Even the true disciples of rank 3 sect had a monthly allowance of 500 Saint Origin coins. 30,000 Saint Origin coins a month increased by dozens of times. That would be 360,000 Saint Origin coins a year. The condition of supporting you with all my strength to be the palace master was enough to make countless women dumbfounded. They couldn't wait to pounce on him, hoping that they would be the one being offered the condition. Lien Daihua's lips curled into a confident smile. He didn't like to talk with his strength. He liked to convince people with his money. He had played with too many women, but half a year ago, he had taken a liking to this Yu Lin Lin of the Thousand Charm Palace. She was mischievous, and her entire body was brimming with youth and purity. She was on a completely different level from those mortal women he had played with. At this moment, Yu Lin Lin's lips curled into a gentle smile. As expected, many people sighed in their hearts. After all, no one could refuse such a price. Lien Daihua puffed out his chest proudly. He was already imagining the scene of a beautiful woman pouncing on him. Damn fatty, you don't have the right to touch your sister Linlin. If you didn't have a rank 4 Chamber of Commerce behind you, Liner, and I would have poisoned you and sent you to hell. Yu Linlin's laughter made people shudder. Not qualified? What a joke. If I'm not qualified, then others are even less qualified. You're just a woman, yet you don't want to give me face. Lien Daihua's face gradually twisted as he sneered. Yu Linlin smiled sweetly. That's because our class monitor has already arrived in the holy world. There's not a single man in the holy world who can compare to him. Everyone was stunned. Which immortal class monitor dared to say that no man in the sacred boundary could be compared to him? Chapter 875. Spatial Tunnel. Lung Yuechi opened her eyes and exclaimed in surprise. The perfect cultivation technique can actually allow me to control the sky frost odd crystal fragment in a few days. The gray-robed old woman controlled the ice painting to move quickly, and the palace master smiled. With your 9 absolute cold meridians, you already have a great advantage. Coupled with the peerless ice soul cultivation technique, it's like adding wings to a tiger. This is just a matter of time. While chatting, the palace master glanced at Lin Chen. At this moment, Lin Chen's entire body was shining with sharpness. Tens of thousands of swords were released, and sword chi soared into the sky. A sharp sword shadow that could split the universe was faintly floating above his head. He's cultivating a peerless sword skill, and it's at least half orange grade. A purple-grade cultivation technique doesn't have this aura, the palace master exclaimed in her heart. With a boom, the spatial tunnel led to the end. We're going out. We've arrived at the Eternal Sun Square. The gray-robed old woman's voice sounded, and everyone's mind was lifted. Only Lin Shun was still in a state of cultivation, but the sword force brewing above his head was getting sharper and stronger. Boom! The spatial tunnel led to the end, and the ice painting flew across the sky, causing ice flowers to sprinkle down, attracting the attention of many experts outside the square, as well as some sages in the venue. Oh, the people from the Ice Heart Palace have just arrived. They're much slower than the previous sessions. That's the people from the Ice Heart Palace. TSK, TSK, TSK. The palace master is so beautiful. So many beauties. I really envy the male disciples of the Ice Heart Palace. Many experts who were watching the convention saw everyone arrive and exclaimed. Suddenly, a phenomenon appeared. Chi! Boom! The sword whistled in the sky, and the wind and clouds stirred. A dragon-like sword cry was unsheathed, shaking the Eternal Sun Square. High above in the sky, a towering sword hung upside down, and it emanated a brilliant sword move that was domineering and invincible. Everywhere the tip of the sword pointed, it seemed as if it could sweep through everything before it and destroy everything. And it shook countless experts to the point of being surprised and bewildered. Most of the swordsmen's swords moved without wind, humming and trembling as they bowed to the towering sword shadow. This is sword force. What a domineering sword force. The sword has the power to split the sky, and its sharpness piercing through the sky. It must be at least a half-orange grade sword skill, and it must be cultivated to perfection to activate it. Who is it? Could it be that Ice Heart Palace's disciples have cultivated a half-orange grade sword skill to perfection? Countless astonished gazes were fixed on the sky. Even the sword saints who were in charge of the venue couldn't help but open their sharp eyes. Their gazes pierced through the void and looked into the distance, revealing traces of surprise. Perfect and flawless, a natural genius of the way of the sword. Only those who have cultivated their sword skills to perfection can have such a condensed sword force. Everyone noticed that the terrifying sword shadow was slowly entering the body of a silver-robed youth who was standing against the wind. His appearance was handsome like jade, his eyes were deep and vast, and they were brilliant like an array of stars. The imposing aura in his entire body was restrained, and it seemed as if he was brewing a peerless sword. It was fine if he didn't leave his sheath, but as soon as he did, it could shake the world. Who is this kid? He actually mastered a half-orange grade sword skill. He's so young. Could it be Ice Heart Palace's extreme star sword, Ji Qingming? He is the only young swordsman of his generation. T. Ji Qingming is ranked 99,000 on the genius ranking. How could he cultivate a half-orange grade sword skill to perfection? I've seen Ji Qingming before, and he's not as handsome as him. Everyone was discussing, and even Dai Huan narrowed his eyes. He has some skill to be able to cultivate a half-orange grade sword skill to perfection. Suddenly, Dai Huan noticed the abnormalities of the two girls in front of him. Lu Lin and Yu Linlin couldn't help but tremble slightly. Their green eyes were filled with complicated emotions. There was happiness, excitement, admiration, tenderness, and even a bit of love hidden in their hearts. What? Dai Hua's eyebrows twitched. As the cold air descended, the group of people from Ice Heart Palace arrived at the square street. Everyone noticed that 5 figures had appeared beside the silver-robed youth like ghosts. These 5 people all made the eyes of the girls in the square shine. Some of them were gentle and elegant, like scholars with jade faces. They were extremely handsome and walked slowly with bows in their hands. The youth's smile was like a spring breeze. Some had shoulder-length hair and a sword at their waist. They were elegant, and when they raised their eyebrows, they exuded a devilish charm. Some were cold and serious, tall and slender, and had a dignified appearance. They carried a spear on their backs. Some were as cold as a blade, and the murderous aura between their brows was domineering and fierce. Almost everyone had the same thought in their minds. They were dragons and phoenixes among men, proud sons of heaven. None of the 5 people standing behind the silver-robed youth were ordinary. They were most likely geniuses on the genius list. However, no one had a specific impression of them. They subconsciously tried to recall which genius list number they were on. At this moment, a beautiful figure rushed over, and with a light fragrance, she threw herself into Lin Chen's arms. Class leader, you're finally here. Yu Linlin hugged Lin Chen's waist and rubbed against Lin Chen's chest like a kitten. Her cheeks were flushed, and her mischievous eyebrows were raised with a hint of slyness. The people who had been amazed by Dai Hua were petrified on the spot. What was going on? The peerless cunning Yu Linlin, who was pursued by countless geniuses, actually took the initiative to throw herself at a man. Many young male sky pride's eyes were burning with jealousy. Envy, jealousy, and hatred. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they probably wouldn't have believed it. After all, she had rejected no less than 10 male geniuses on the genius list. In terms of looks, although Yu Linlin was top-notch, she wasn't the best. However, her temperament and personality made her a lover in the hearts of many men. Her heart was always full of vitality, mischievous, and could always find something to be happy about. Looking at her, she was like a happy fruit. This was an extremely rare person in the sacred boundary, where the forces were complicated and intertwined. Lin Shin smiled and stroked her hair. He smiled and said, "Little girl, you've grown a lot." "Yes, you've grown a lot. According to my personal test, you've grown in all aspects. Tisk, if you hadn't come, I would have been abducted by someone else." Lin made a face at him. She was about to push her luck and hug Lin Chen's neck when she suddenly felt a faint chill. Teacher Lung Yuechi." When Lin saw Lung Yuechi, she pouted guiltily and quickly let go of Lin Shun. "Class leader, you're finally here. We saw you on a genius list a few days ago." Lin smiled sweetly. Lin Shun pretended to look up at the sky and sighed. "I can't help it. Handsome people will become the focus of attention wherever they go. I try to keep a low profile, but I never thought that it was also a mistake to keep a low profile. If being handsome is a sin, then I'm already unforgivable." You really have a flock of beauties." At this moment, Lin Daiwa walked over and said in a somewhat ambiguous tone. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows. He didn't come with good intentions. "No, I'm the one who came. It should be because he's very handsome." Lin Chen laughed mockingly. "I'm the big black dragon in the waves who will always be waiting for you regardless of wind or rain. Brother Fatty, if you have something to say, just say it. If you're sick, go and take some medicine. I'm the big black dragon in the Jianghu." Chapter 876. Lin Daiwa spat in disdain. He rubbed his chin with his 5 fingers that wore 5 high-grade storage rings and sneered. "A pauper like you has no right to know this young master's identity. Let me give you a piece of advice. A man who can't even afford to raise his own woman is worse than trash. Take the money and get lost. Don't be so shameless." After he finished speaking, he took out 1,000 silver Saint Origin coins from his storage ring and tossed them to Lin Chen. The silver Saint Origin coins rolled down, dazzling the onlookers. With just one sentence, Lung Yuechi, Su Lan, Lu Lin, and Lin's expressions turned cold and murderous. Lin Shan raised his hand to stop the girls and flicked away the silver Saint Origin coins with his battle chi. He smiled elegantly and said, "What a good coin spammer. I didn't expect there to be such a spammer in the world. Looks like you're very rich." The president of the Tier 4,000 Gold Association, Lien Wanjin, is my father. If you know what's good for you, crawl. While Lin Daiwa was being arrogant, the gray-robed old woman stood beside Lin Shun and released a wisp of Saint's aura to warn him. "Little Lien, you want to cause trouble? Do you think my Ice Heart Palace is easy to bully? Saint Realm? I won't argue with you today. A trash who only knows how to hide behind others. If I want to deal with you, it'll be as easy as killing a dog." After glancing at the 2 saints behind Lin Shun, Lin Daiwa flicked his sleeves and left, mocking him. "If you dare to participate in the competition and meet the people from Extreme Heaven Pavilion, you'll be tortured. If you know what's good for you, you'd better get lost. A mere snake wants to compete with a true dragon? You're just asking for humiliation. Hey, you forgot to bring your coins." Lin Shun flicked his finger and threw the silver Saint Origin coins back to Lin Daiwa. Lin Daiwa casually put them away and left in disdain. Lin Shun asked the 2 girls, "Is he rich?" Lin said helplessly, "He's a playboy. He's rich and not weak. He even joined Xuanyu's Extreme Heaven Pavilion, a sect made up entirely of young geniuses. Class president, if you find him annoying, Lin and I will deal with him after the competition." Lu Lin smiled gently, but there was a deep killing intent hidden in her smile. Her title was Beauty of 1,000 Poisons. She killed people while talking and laughing, and her methods were so ruthless that it caused people's expressions to change. She was an opponent that most of the geniuses were unwilling to face. Her attacks were easy to block, but her poison gas was hard to defend against. Unless one's cultivation was much higher than hers, they would not even know when they were poisoned and would die without knowing why. Perhaps only those few people and the young man in front of her could make her smile. Besides, they've all grown up. Even the class monitor can't handle him, but now they're saying that they can handle him for me. Lin Chen pretended to sigh, causing Lu Lin to blush. "Don't worry, this kind of trash can't stump your class monitor. Lin Chin chuckled. So what if he was the son of a fourth-grade merchant association? The basic requirement for a fourth-grade force was to have 2 low-grade spiritual plants of destiny. How could he not have them? He knew how to scatter coins, but Lin Fan knew how to act cool. In a loft, more than 10 handsome men and beautiful women gathered at a table to discuss and drink. Our Extreme Heaven Pavilion is determined to be the champion of this competition. Let these bumpkins from the mystic realm see the strength of our Xuanyu. I don't know if that Lin Chin will come. He dares to kill our Extreme Heaven Pavilion's people. His dog guts aren't small. That coward has been targeted by the secret pavilion. How would he dare to show his face? He's probably hiding in a corner right now. Let's look at the information that Lien Daiwa brought back and see if there are any worthy opponents for our Extreme Heaven Pavilion. As soon as he finished speaking, Lien Daiwa walked into the loft with a gloomy expression. A white-clothed youth leaned against a screen with his hands behind his head. He whistled at Lien Daiwa. You came just as I said. Daiwa, what's going on over there? What are you doing? Your eyes are like eggs. If you're angry, go find the pavilion master and find your master. Damn, I met a brat who dares to touch my woman. Everyone asked curiously. Lien Daiwa explained everything. After the geniuses heard this, they became interested. Interesting. Which blind fool dared to offend their Extreme Heaven Pavilion? You're really stupid. You didn't even ask for his name. He'll definitely participate. When the time comes, we'll take turns to trample on him. Ha ha ha. Daiwa, don't worry. We'll help you vent your anger and deal with this brat. He dares to provoke our Extreme Heaven Pavilion. He's courting death. If I meet him in the martial competition, I'll cripple him. A giant dragon head ship stopped in the void outside the 10,000 Days Plaza. A group of strong men walked down. The youth in the lead had a fierce look on his face. His entire body was covered in a murderous aura. It was as if he had walked out of the Great Desolate. Junhao, do your best in this martial competition. You already have the strength to enter the genius list. Take advantage of this 4-way competition to make a name for yourself. The several strong men on the dragon-head ship laughed. Although the white-clothed youth had a serious expression, he was already excited in his heart. According to Big Brother's personality, since he has already come to the sacred boundary, there's no reason for him to be absent from such a grand event. This youth was by Junhao, who had joined the Sacred Boundary's White Dragon Gate. In the southwest of the venue, a devilishly charming red-clothed youth looked around. What was strange was that he didn't look at the beauties. He only looked at the men, and he only stared at the chrysanthemum region. The youth had an empty sleeve. He only had one arm. I knew a pervert like you would come to a place with so many men. A teasing voice sounded from behind the youth. The red-clothed youth turned around. Their eyes met, and they grinned. They reached out and bumped their fists. Damn, Ing Liang, I haven't seen you for 2 years. You've become much more handsome. I like it when you say such honest words, Chen Feng. Ha ha ha. The two of them put their arms around each other's shoulders and laughed. I heard that the class monitor has already arrived at the sacred boundary. He killed the young pavilion master of the secret pavilion as soon as he arrived. Damn, that was so satisfying. This time we can't lose to him. Of course. Let's go and have a drink. After we're done, we'll register together. Ha! Let's get a genius list ranking for this 4-way competition. There was a sea of people at the registration venue. There was a special passage at the side. If there was a recommendation from a sect, there was no need to line up. They could directly enter the special passage. A violet-haired woman with a slender and beautiful figure spoke indifferently. Her jade-green eyes were like limpid autumn waters. Sacred Pill Pavilion's Han Ziyun is here to register for the alchemy competition. Just as the beautiful woman finished registering, a few unruly and cynical voices came from the side of the special passage, which was also a special passage. Extreme Heaven Pavilion's Vice Pavilion Master Mo Jingchun is here to register for the competition. Members Yin Jintian, Xia Jianfeng, Luo Wuji, Long Yang, Xiao Qinyan are here to register for the individual competition, group competition, alchemy, smithing, fortune teller, music, and treasure identification. The purple-haired beauty's eyes were serious. She was shocked. It's actually someone from the Extreme Heaven Pavilion, that shocking second-grade sect that is said to have only geniuses on the genius list. The appearance of the Extreme Heaven Pavilion attracted a lot of attention. Then, a teasing laugh sounded from even further away. Everyone in the registration venue quieted down in an instant. The Black Horse Club's deputy director, Lin Shun, is here to register for the competition. Members Zhun Dekeng, Zhun Dijiu, Zhun Ding, Zhundok Shui, Shintoka Shou, Zhun Depi are here to register for the individual competition, group competition, alchemy, smithing, fortune teller, music, and treasure identification. Hearing this familiar voice and tone, the purple-haired beauty's delicate body stiffened. Her beautiful eyes revealed a complicated splendor and some disbelief. Chapter 877. Almost at the same time, when the Black Horse Club's registration was announced, Extreme Heaven Pavilion and Lin Chen's group looked at each other. At this moment, when the atmosphere was extremely heavy, three drunk brothers walked into the special passage of the registration hall. They had their arms around each other's shoulders and laughed. Hey, that wine is really good. A while ago, a beautiful girl actually ran over and asked me if I'd seen the most handsome man. She handed me a mirror and said that the person in the mirror was the most handsome. F*CK. I was so angry that I drew our class monitor's portrait on the mirror. Ying Liang, if you had eaten a peanut just now, you wouldn't have gotten drunk like this. When the three brothers walked into the registration hall, they were suddenly stunned. Their eyes stared straight at the silver-robed youth in front of the counter. When Lin Shun turned around to look at the three drunk people, he was also stunned on the spot. It was actually Ying Liang, Bai Juanhao, and Gu Chunfeng. F*CK. It's the class monitor? Big brother. F*CK. Am I hallucinating because I drink too much? When the three of them exclaimed in unison, the sound of wind breaking was heard. The people from Extreme Heaven Pavilion took the lead and attacked Lin Shun. People from the Black Horse Club, let me have a taste of it. Pavilion Master has instructed us to give this Lin Shun a big gift when we meet him. With a flick of his wrist, scarlet flames circulated. The power was ferocious as it gathered into a sharp handblade that cut towards Lin Shen's head. A whip-like kick, surrounded by wind blade battle chi, smashed down furiously. Even more ferocious, spiraling fist wind was sent towards Lin Shen's abdomen. 3 afterimages were as fast as light. The geniuses of Absolute Heaven Pavilion had actually surrounded and attacked Lin Shun in the first exchange of blows. Lin Shun was unperturbed, and his expression did not change. At this moment, many experts in the registration hall did not stop them. It was as if everyone wanted to see Lin Chen's methods and depth. Bang! A thunderous roar erupted from the ground. Taking a closer look, all 3 of their attacks had been blocked. However, it wasn't Lin Chen who blocked it. It was Ying Liang, Bai Juanhao, and Gu Qinfeng. They stood on either side of Lin Chen and blocked the opponent's whip kicks, fist prints, and hand blades. Dragon scales appeared on Bai Juanhao's arms. Sword aura surrounded Ying Liang's body, and the bloody light above Gu Qinfeng's head condensed into a blade. If you dare to touch the class leader, Big Brother, you'll have to go through us first. The 3 of them simultaneously revealed Class 60 as success standard, respecting the old and loving the young smile. Oh, not bad. The 3 geniuses of Extreme Heaven Pavilion were slightly surprised. Just as they were about to attack again, a cold shout sounded. Enough! It was the Vice Pavilion Master, Mo Jingchen. His brows and eyes were sharp like blades, his aura was icy cold, and his face was cold. He slowly walked in front of Lin Shun. Extreme Heaven Pavilion's 3 geniuses retreated. The two's 4 eyes met, and the distance between them was extremely close. Just when everyone thought that he was paying attention to his opponent, he suddenly said, "Don't worry. Yeah, I'm still the most handsome one." Everyone was stunned. Lin Shun, your life belongs to the Pavilion Master. He has already decided that your life belongs to the Pavilion Master of Extreme Heaven Pavilion. In a martial arts competition, life and death are up to fate. I hope you can persevere until the last round. Otherwise, it will be meaningless. Mo Jingchen's high and mighty attitude made Lin Chen ask curiously, "Could it be that your pavilion master likes men? He even decided on me. He hasn't even seen me, and he's already taken a fancy to me? Looks like your absolute Heaven Pavilion's pavilion master is jealous of my handsomeness. Or is it that he and Ji Wuqian had an affair? After Ji Wuqian was killed by me, his Lord Pavilion Master couldn't find a suitable chrysanthemum for him?" Puffed. Many people in the venue laughed out loud. "You country bumpkin, your cheap mouth is very stubborn. Looks like I have to break it first." The agile girl beside Mo Jingchen had a frosty expression and was stopped by the former. "This is the venue. We still have to respect the rules here. Lin Chen, we'll meet in a martial arts competition." "Don't meet in a martial arts competition. Our club's rules are to be indifferent to life and death. If you don't accept it, then fight. If you want to do it, we'll accompany you to the end. If you want to fight, just ask about the time and place. Don't talk nonsense with me. If you don't accept it, I'll beat you to accept it now." Lin Chen raised his eyebrows, his domineering aura leaking out. The 5 clones behind him and the human form of the Dragon Emperor immediately surrounded the people from Extreme Heaven Pavilion. Gu Qinfeng, Bai Juanhao, and Ying Liang were shocked. How long had it been? How come there were so many fierce generals by the class monitor's side? In terms of pressure, they were not inferior to the people from Extreme Heaven Pavilion. F*CK. It's actually you, poor bastard. Where did this rascal come from? How dare you touch my Extreme Heaven Pavilion's vice pavilion master? Are you looking for death? Another group of people appeared in the venue, including Dai Hua and the other geniuses from Extreme Heaven Pavilion. The atmosphere was tense and ready to explode at any moment. All the forces and experts in the registration venue held their breaths at the same time. The Black Horse Club and Extreme Heaven Pavilion. On one side, there was the mysterious force that appeared out of nowhere and was suspected to have killed 30 geniuses from the genius list, killed the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion, and suddenly had 7 geniuses from the genius list. On the other side, there was a legendary force formed by the second-generation ancestors of 3rd and 4th rank sections. Although they were only 2nd rank sects, they had the best resources, the most outstanding teachers, and the highest priority rights. The Pavilion Master who created them was a genius ranked 70,000 on the genius list. Without a doubt, both sides were the most legendary sects from the mystic realm and Xuanyu. They actually encountered each other at this juncture. Who will be better? Almost everyone was looking forward to it. Even those Sage Realm experts were no exception. The more intense the collision between geniuses, the more exciting it would be, because only competition would give birth to more geniuses and limitless futures. The new generation excels the old. Little guys, the venue does not allow you to fight. If there are any problems, wait until the martial arts competition to solve them. Suddenly, the old man's laughter reverberated in the venue, but it contained a unique magic that suppressed everyone's aura. It contained a kind of purity that could enlighten people. It's Senior Great Fortune Saint. What a powerful method. The geniuses of Extreme Heaven Pavilion were secretly shocked, but Lin Chen did not care. Since Senior Great Fortune Saint has spoken, then my Extreme Heaven Pavilion will give Senior this face. Mo Jingchen clasped his fists and led the people of Extreme Heaven Pavilion away. Before he left, he sent a secret message to Lin Chen. Miss Yin Xinyun is of noble birth and is a match for our Pavilion Master. She is not someone you can touch. Don't think that just because you killed one of the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion, you are nothing but a frog at the bottom of a well. If you dare to cross the boundary, there will be more than just the Dark Pavilion looking for you. Hearing the other party's message, Lin Chen was startled. What's going on? Yin Xinyun? She also came to the sacred boundary? All right, so it was this genius fortune teller who caused all this trouble for me. Lin Chen suddenly shouted at Mo Jingchen. Is it my fault that the girl that your dog fart pavilion master likes me? I'm so annoyed. Damn it, I have to bear the brunt of being handsome at my age. Do you know how much pressure I have? So annoying. Silence. Everyone in the venue twitched their mouths. Chapter 878. Xuanyu, Ziqing Pavilion. A handsome young man with an elegant demeanor spoke cheerfully and wittily, revealing a sense of absolute confidence as if he held the pearl of wisdom in his hands. Qianyun, are you sure you don't want to consider it? If I enter the monster ranking in the future, I'll definitely give you the #1 spot. The young man persuaded. The beauty opposite him was wearing a purple-black dress. Her figure was graceful, and her delicate figure was like a unique scenery. She was like a star under the night sky, an orchid in an empty valley. Her hair was like snow, and her eyes were like peach blossoms. Her eyebrows were like the distant mountains in March, and her lips were like cherry blossoms. Her purple-black dress was decorated with stars, and it added a mysterious color to her quiet and elegant beauty. At this moment, the beauty was holding her chin with her delicate hands. The breeze blew her hair, and her beautiful eyes were lost in thought as she stared into the distance. She didn't care about what the young man said at all. The young man seemed to be very patient and wasn't in a hurry. He smiled and said, "If you don't like it, I can help you explore the ruins and battlefields of ancient fortune-tellers and uncover their secrets." She didn't respond, but the young man continued, "Qianyun, I can help you break through the Saint Realm and reach the peak." The beauty's beautiful eyes were lost in thought. The young man's gentle and elegant demeanor slowly disappeared, and he said calmly, "My informant sent a message through space. A guy named Lin Shun has arrived at the conference of the Four Powers." Whoosh! The beauty turned her head, and her beautiful eyes flashed with extraordinary splendor. Her charm was unparalleled, and her beauty could topple the world. Seeing that the beauty had such a big reaction because of this name, even the shrewd young man in white couldn't help but feel a little angry. But he suppressed his anger, stood up, and straightened his clothes. "Qianyun, there will be a day when you will understand my intentions. As for that Lin Shin you mentioned, I will bring his head to see you." The beauty's beautiful eyes focused, and she finally opened her mouth. "Chun Feng, you will regret this." "Regret? Are you threatening me? You dare to threaten me for this man?" The young man was so angry that he laughed. She gently shook her head and stared into the distance, her beautiful eyes flowing with blue waves. Those who offended him didn't have a good ending. He has always been like this. From the small wilderness to the spirit state in Jiuzhou, he has always exceeded everyone's expectations. He has the fighting spirit to challenge the gods. No one can suppress him. Even you are nothing in front of him. What a joke. Chun Feng flicked his sleeves. I, Chun Feng, founded a second-grade sect and used only 10 years to enter the 70,000th place on the genius list. In the current sacred boundary, aside from the monstrous geniuses, how many people can compare to me? What right does he have to fight me? You only have a monster genius ranking as your goal. You're short-sighted, conceited, and arrogant. If it was him, he wouldn't have stopped here. Yan Qianyun's smile was peerless. Chun Feng was dumbfounded. Who are you? Is it my fault that I'm too handsome? A certain Lin was filled with righteous indignation and claimed that he was wronged in all seriousness. Everyone from Absolute Heaven Pavilion was angered to the point that their veins were exposed. They were angered to the point that their faces turned green, and they left in anger. Yu Linlin was trying his best to hold back his laughter. Ying Liang exclaimed, "The class monitor is really a role model for our generation. I've seen shameless people before, but I've never seen someone as shameless as the class monitor." Before Lin Shan could catch up with Bai Juanhao and the other two, a woman's crisp, graceful, and resentful snort sounded from behind him. "Yeah, I wonder which handsome guy forced a girl into a corner and left after touching her. He's a pervert, but doesn't have the guts to do so." Purple hair cascading down like a waterfall, a beautiful woman stood beside Lin Shan. She seemed to be angry, happy, and somewhat resentful as she stared at Lin Shun. Eh, Zian, why are you here too? I haven't seen you for so long. You've grown up. Come, Brother Chin hugs. Oh my God, who pinched my old waist? Everyone gathered in the restaurant. Lung Yueqi, the Su sisters Yu Linlin, Lu Lin Han Ziyun, Bai Juanhao, Ing Liang, and Gu Qinfeng. More than half of the people who were heading to the sacred boundary were here. Class monitor, you're too mean. Why didn't you call us when you created your own sect? That's right, big brother. Our class 66 has already reached the sacred boundary. We're bound together for good or ill. We want to join the Black Horse Club as well. Bai Juanhao and Ing Liang yelled at Lin Shun for being mean. Class monitor, I want to join the club too. Yu Linlin's eyes lit up, and his expression said, Class monitor is bringing me to cause trouble. No, you guys can't join the Black Horse Club. Lin Shun had a serious expression on his face when he talked about this. Lin Shun knew the rules of the sects in the sacred boundary. If he poached the disciples of other sects without any conditions, he would have to pay a huge price. Especially now. Even if they weren't ranked, almost all of them had the combat power of the prodigy role. If they joined the Black Horse Club, it meant that Lin Shun wanted to take away the younger generation of the sects behind them. That meant that he would offend all of them. Their sects had spent a lot of resources to nurture a true disciple, but they were poached by other sects instead. No one would be able to stand it. Secondly, he was now roaming the sacred boundary and would definitely provoke many strong enemies. If everyone joined the Black Horse Club, they would become a target instead. The disadvantages outweighed the advantages. He was alone, fighting and retreating at the same time. They were all his clones anyway, so it was most convenient for him to act alone. There were no outsiders present, so Lin Shun didn't hide anything and told them everything. When everyone found out that the Black Horse Club was full of their class monitor's clones, they couldn't help but twitch their mouths. That was too fierce. It turned out that the famous massacre of the Prodigy Role's geniuses in the 36 domains was actually a result of their class monitor. Oh my God, big brother, Bai Juanhao, am convinced I didn't expect the class monitor to cause such a huge commotion when he came to the sacred boundary. I feel that this confusing hand of cards is well played. Anyway, no one knows about the Black Horse Club. They have a mysterious background, so they can intimidate many rascals. Everyone discussed excitedly. Lin Shun and Lung Yueqi looked at each other and smiled. Everyone hadn't changed at all. It was as if as long as Lin Shun was by their side, they would always be full of vitality. On the other side, on the last day of the registration deadline, the cloud ship docked at the 10,000 Days Plaza. A woman wearing a veil did not reveal her true appearance, but just by looking at her exquisite and beautiful figure, one could tell that this woman was definitely a beauty capable of causing the downfall of the city. Her speech, actions, and even her lotus steps revealed a kind of elegance that was engraved in her bones. The beauty walked into the special registration passage and nodded politely with a smile. Recommended by the 3rd grade treasure appraisal sect, Heavenly Dipper 100 Treasures sect, Disciple Shangwan Bihan, registration, treasure appraisal. As soon as this was said, many seniors were shocked. It was actually the strongest treasure appraisal genius recruited by the Heavenly Dipper 100 Treasures sect, Shangwan Bihan. The old senior in charge of recording the registration couldn't help but click his tongue. Good heavens, even this little demon is here. It's said that she can even see through a lost sacred weapon at such a young age. Her name has shocked countless veteran treasure appraisers in Xuanyu. It seems that the champion this time has already been booked in advance. After registering, the beauty walked away with light steps. Her beautiful eyes stared in a certain direction, her eyebrows curved, and she smiled sweetly. This time, I'm a strong opponent. Prince Lin Shun, who has descended from the heavens. This 4-way conference was a gathering of the winds and clouds. First, the Black Horse Club appeared out of nowhere and rushed to register for the 4-way conference. Then, the Absolute Heaven Pavilion went against the Black Horse Club and attracted everyone's attention. With everyone's attention, the 4-way conference ushered in the opening ceremony. Chapter 879. The night before the start of the competition, Lin Mao fell into deep thought. It's a bit difficult to rely on alchemy hand seals alone. The Four Directions Conference uses a point system. If I want to buy the Azura 9 Brilliance Transformation, I have to get first place at least twice. Lin Shin glanced at his cultivation technique, Soul Essence. He only had 700 million middle-grade cultivation technique, Soul Essence left. Learning the Sword Fury raises the heavens, the 2 top-grade purple rank alchemy hand seals, and helping Lung Yuechi with her cultivation technique consumed a lot of them. I'm too lacking in cultivation technique, Soul Essence. I still have the 8th rank forging technique, but I don't have any cultivation technique Soul Essence to learn. I can only try my best. At worst, I'll just rely on individual and group competitions to get first place. Lin Shin took out the Cloud Sky Pill Sage's alchemy manual and activated the system, consuming 700 million middle-grade cultivation technique Soul Essence. Beginning to fuse with the Pill Sage's manual, a huge amount of memories poured into Lin Shin's body as he fused with all his clones. The night passed in the blink of an eye. Using 700 million middle-grade cultivation technique Soul Essence to learn 5% of the Pill Sage's alchemy manual, Lin Shin couldn't help but marvel at the difficulty of becoming an 8th rank alchemist. It was too abnormal. At the same time, this alchemy manual seemed to have opened a new door for him on the path of alchemy. Lin Shin's alchemy skills advanced by leaps and bounds. The next day, the Four Directions Conference began. 1580 geniuses from the genius ranking were gathered in this conference. Most of them were from Xuanyu and the mysterious realm. More than 2,000 geniuses were participating in the individual and group competitions. The standard was extremely high. In the morning, there was a hubbub of voices. Lin Shin's group was the first to arrive at the venue of the individual competition. In the individual competition, lots were drawn to determine the winner, and the winner would advance. It was different from the group competition. In the individual competition, each participating sect's disciple was independent. The winner would advance, and the loser would withdraw. If they were from the same sect, only one of them would be able to advance. As for the group martial arts competition, it was a group battle. This group battle could be joined by many forces and sects, making it more intense and exciting. However, once the group battle was lost, all the participating sects and forces would be eliminated, and the risks and rewards would increase exponentially. This time, there were tens of thousands of top prodigies participating in the individual martial arts competition. In just one morning, there were thousands of individual martial arts competitions in the gathering hall. Some of the prodigies on the prodigy ranking actually encountered each other in the preliminary round. It was truly a dazzling sight. However, the world seemed to be filled with drama. There was already an extremely explosive match in the first round. It attracted the attention of millions of spectators. Black Horse Club's Zhen Dijiu versus Extreme Heaven Pavilion's Xia Jianfeng. These two forces, which have been opposing each other since the beginning, actually met in the first round. Amidst the sea of people, countless people raised their heads in anticipation. Most of them were Yuan venerates and battle emperors, so they could see hundreds or even thousands of miles away with a single glance. Even if they were extremely far away, they could still easily watch the battle without any pressure. 3 figures of the Saint Realm were sitting on the high platform. They were the highest referees of this single martial arts competition. The first green-robed old man curled his lips and said, "I say, old fogey Gao Yang, it's not good to do things behind the scenes. You're deliberately arranging this, aren't you?" Black Horse Club versus Extreme Heaven Pavilion. The third white-haired old man's expression didn't change as he smiled naturally. "Don't you want to see their battle quickly? I believe everyone wants to see it sooner. This old man is following the will of the people, isn't it? All right, you old fogey. Who can win against you in an argument?" The old man in the middle didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The green-robed old man squinted his eyes. "Looks like this Black Horse Club is in a bit of trouble. There are 3 hidden pavilion saints present to keep an eye on him. How generous. This little fellow is going to poke a hole in the sky. the other two old men looked somewhat dignified. This time, they were going to host the competition seriously. If any accident happened, it would be a disgrace to all the forces in the competition. However, everyone was looking forward to the confrontation between these two new forces. Countless spectators looked up and exclaimed as they stared at Extreme Heaven Pavilion's viewing platform. On the east side of the spectator stands, Extreme Heaven Pavilion's extravagance was huge this time. On the VIP stands, even Dai Hua had set up a 10,000-year green wooden table. There was dragon liver and phoenix marrow, 7th level top-grade spirit wine. Those who didn't know would think that his family was celebrating. Even the chairs were made from the fur of a quasi-8th order Saint Beast, the purple Saint Martin, and each set was worth 1,000 silver Saint Origin coins. Under the blazing sun in the morning, the chairs were dazzling and shiny, and each of the geniuses from Absolute Heaven Pavilion was given one. What did it mean to be rich enough to rival a country? What did it mean to be rich and overbearing? My Buddha, just those chairs alone are worth more than 10,000 silver Saint Origin coins. They're too rich. F*CK. Comparisons are odious. As expected of the son of a 4th grade Chamber of Commerce, the extravagance of the Extreme Heaven Pavilion naturally gave great pressure to the Black Horse Club standing next to it. Those geniuses of the Extreme Heaven Pavilion who were chatting cheerfully and wittily unconsciously revealed an untamed and unruly feeling, as if they were mocking them for being a bunch of poor people. The girls and Bai Juanhao had already arrived at the VIP stands and were waiting. Seeing Extreme Heaven Pavilion's extravagance and hearing their disdainful words, they couldn't help but frown. As for Lin Shun, because he was cultivating, he had just arrived at the VIP stands and stretched his body, looking a little tired. On the Extreme Heaven Pavilion stage, Dai Hua took a sip of the 7th level top-grade spirit wine and sneered. That's why people shouldn't be frogs at the bottom of a well. They should come out to broaden their horizons and see how big the world is. Don't act like a country bumpkin who can't even afford to raise his own woman. Aya, big brother Dai Hua, you're too honest. How can you say that? They're just not as rich as us. How can they be considered poor? Who knows? Maybe with a monthly allowance of 1,000 silver Saint Origin coins, he can even buy a few decent treasures for his sister. Two beautiful girls from Extreme Heaven Pavilion covered their mouths and chuckled eccentrically. Hearing the conversation from Extreme Heaven Pavilion, many people subconsciously looked at the Black Horse Club stage. On the other side of the stage, Ying Liang pointed in the direction of Extreme Heaven Pavilion and asked Lin Shun with a sly smile, "Class monitor, they've made their move. How are we going to react?" "React? We're poor people. How are we going to react? I don't have any money." Lin Shun continued, "No matter how arrogant they are, I'll make them miserable later." Then Lin Shun lay down, and just as his back was about to hit the ground, with a swoosh, a vast and long branch suddenly grew out from behind him, extending out from the void. The lush green branch was dozens of meters long, and the branches and leaves were covered with silver Saint Origin coins. Seeing this, countless people in the audience sucked in a breath of cold air. This scene stunned Dai Hua and the other geniuses from Extreme Heaven Pavilion. Then, they were filled with disbelief. It couldn't be wrong. Only one kind of spirit plant could produce Saint Origin coins from a spirit plant. A spirit plant of providence. This was A.F. * King's Spirit Plant of Providence. Lin Shun actually carried a spirit plant of providence with him. That was the lifeblood of all 2nd grade sects and above. Damn it, he actually dared to carry a spirit plant of providence with him outside? Was he crazy? He must be F** King crazy. Wait a minute, didn't this mean that he still had that priceless spirit plant pouch? And this was only a part of the spirit plant of Providence's branch. The complete body must have already grown to its peak. It was terrifying to think about. Everyone in the audience was stunned at this moment. Chapter 880. Although the jade-green branches shielded Lin Shun from the glaring sunlight, It brought along a silver brilliance that blinded the dog's eyes. That was a brilliance that was completely condensed from the shining white money. The jade-green branches continued to grow longer as Lin Chun released a part of the clear jade tree's main body from the peach blossom pouch. All the geniuses of the Extreme Heaven Pavilion were either stunned or dumbfounded. One person holding the spirit plant of fate? How is this possible? Lin Chun, who was bathed in the light of countless silver Saint Origin coins, said dejectedly, "Sigh, I'm so poor that I'm about to eat dirt. I really don't like this kind of boring life at all." After saying that, he took out his self-made toothbrush and squeezed some toothpaste onto the clear jade tree's branches. He actually started to brush his teeth in front of countless people. No, that seems to be green jade essence ointment. What? He's using this kind of natural treasure to brush his teeth? Is he crazy? A sharp-eyed expert instantly discovered that his toothpaste was actually the top-grade 7th-tier green jade essence ointment. It had a strong wood attribute energy and had the miraculous effect of strengthening one's foundation and regenerating broken bones. He was actually using such a precious natural treasure to brush his teeth. Many experts felt their scalps go numb. F*CK. What a waste of natural treasures. Obtained 120,000 intermediate wood attribute energy, 100,000 wood attribute energy. The green jade essence ointment was not wasted. It turned into attribute points and was absorbed by Lin Chun. Following that, Lin Chun scooped up the clear water accumulated by the branches and spat it out. Obtained 150,000 water attribute energy, 20,000 mental energy, 140,000 water attribute energy. Some of the Battle Emperor spectators were dumbfounded. He was actually using the legendary clear jade essence ointment to rinse his mouth? Is he crazy? Do you have so much money that you don't know where to spend it? Many experts of the older generation who had problems with their mental energy were angered to the point that they almost vomited blood. At this moment, a portion of a crimson-red branch grew out from his back. The tree trunk seemed to have veins pulsating all over, and the red leaves were lush and full of vitality. The branches and leaves were dazzling and gorgeous, and they were filled with colorful fruits. Compared to the branches of the clear jade tree, one was green while the other was crimson. It was extremely gorgeous and made countless experts shudder in fear. The geniuses of Absolute Heaven Pavilion were all flabbergasted, and Lien Daiwa looked as if he had seen a ghost. The second one? He actually had a second plan of destiny? What kind of F*King joke was this? What kind of concept was a spiritual plan of providence? The resources it produced were enough to feed hundreds of thousands or even millions of prodigy disciples. It could be used to establish a sect and increase the value of a saint stage cultivator by several times. Even a saint might not be able to possess a spirit plant of providence. A young combat emperor from the Black Horse Club actually had two. Most of the 4th grade sects that were as powerful as the sages only had 2 plants of providence. Had the world gone crazy? The 3 highest saint stage judges on the stage stood up directly. Their eyes were extremely solemn as they stared at the crimson-red branch. They did not care about their manners and opened their mouths wide as if they had discovered a precious treasure. Long Qing Shu? Am I seeing things? This seems to be the Long Qing Shu that we've been searching for. This is too crazy. Where did this Black Horse Club come from? The 3 saint stage judges' tiger bodies shook violently. F*King 250 times. The Long Qing Shu that they had been searching for hundreds of thousands of years, the Long Qing Shu that was almost extinct, was actually in the hands of a young man. This kid actually has 2 spiritual plants of providence. Could it be the inheritance of an ancient saint? The hidden pavilion saint stage experts who were hiding in the dark were shocked. As strong as their hidden pavilion, they only had 2 spiritual plants of providence. At this moment, Lin Chun alone had 2 of them with him. Sigh, a country bumpkin's morning is just so plain and boring. I'm not like other rich people. Every time I see other people eating lavishly, a country bumpkin like me is always envious and longing. Who can understand the troubles of a country bumpkin? After saying that, Lin Shun grabbed a few long Qingguo and stuffed them into his mouth. As he chewed, he said with an indignant face, "For a poor guy like me, it's impossible for me to work. It's impossible for me to work in this lifetime. I can only eat small wild fruits to maintain my life." Host has received 2 billion points of mid-grade Qi and blood energy. 4 billion points of Qi and blood energy. 1 billion points of Qi and blood energy. The energy of the long Qingguo continued to be refined into Lin Shen's body. Lin Shen looked aggrieved as he chewed another 6 long Qingguo. "I'm so hungry. Wow, why can't I be full? Why am I so hungry?" Sure enough, a poor person like me can't even afford to have a full stomach. F***CK. Many Fifth Tribulation battle emperors of the older generation were so angry that their mouths were crooked. Are you F***king eating long Qingguo, and you want to be full? Crazy. This kid is F***king crazy. Countless experts were on the verge of going crazy. Even if he's not crazy, we're going crazy. Clang. At this scene, some saber emperors had already drawn their swords. This is too F***king infuriating. If I don't chop him up, am I still human? The big brother beside him quickly pressed down on his saber emperor cousin and hurriedly said, "Brother, hold it in. You must hold it in. Although I also want to chop him up, you can't beat him." The geniuses of Extreme Heaven Pavilion stared blankly at Lin Shen stuffing long Qingguo into his mouth. They stared blankly at the delicious food in front of them, and suddenly felt that it wasn't delicious at all. Lin covered his mouth with his slender hand and used all his skills to stifle his laughter. Ying Liang, who had received professional training, was already trembling from holding it in. Bai Juanhao's eyes were filled with tears, and his facial muscles were about to cramp from laughing. Bang. At this moment, because Lin Shen continued to release the clear jade tree and the long Qing Shu, silver Saint Origin coins were scattered all over the sky. Walala! A torrential rain of silver Saint Origin coins poured down on Lin Shen, who was under the tree. A torrential rain of silver light descended, piling up countless silver mountains. Almost millions of silver Saint Origin coins surrounded Lin Shen. Lin Shen abandoned himself and lay down in the mountain of silver Saint Origin coins, sobbing as if he had nothing to live for. Why? Why can't I even eat my fill? Seeing the rich people of Extreme Heaven Pavilion eating so much fish and meat, I admit that I'm envious. I'm jealous. It's so hard to be poor. It's really too hard. Lin Shen was so agitated that he actually laid down in the mountain of silver Saint Origin coins and began to beat his chest and stomp his feet while wailing. Everyone here, brothers and sisters, you really can't understand the troubles of a poor person like me. I can't even afford to raise my own woman. I'm useless. I'm poor. Heavens, I've already endured the pressure of being handsome that I shouldn't have at my age. Why? Why do you still want me to be poor? I'm so tired of living. If I could live again, I only hope that I can eat my fill. Wah! Silence. The faces of the geniuses of Extreme Heaven Pavilion turned yellow. The millions of people in the audience fell into a deathly silence. Everyone in the venue could hear the wailing of the young man lying in the mountain of money. After a long while, one of the brothers squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. F***CK. Chapter 881. Some of the experts' auras surged, wanting to rush up and snatch Lin Shen's mountain of over 2 million Saint Yuan coins. But in the end, they were all intimidated by the aura of the Saint Realm expert standing on the stage. Lin Shen laid in the pile of money and asked helplessly, "Junhao, Ying Liang, don't you think it's embarrassing to follow a poor class monitor like me? Other than being handsome, I really have nothing else." Bai Junhao and the others rolled on the ground laughing. "Class monitor, you're too awesome. The whole world owes you an award." Feeling the gazes from all around them, the faces of the people from Extreme Heaven Pavilion turned green and red. What a disgrace. Especially Dai Hua. He was so angry that he almost shit himself. This was too embarrassing. Who was the one who was so valiant and arrogant to mock others for being poor? Who was the one who was mocking others for not being able to afford to raise their own women? Those were two low-grade spirit plants of destiny. Only a fourth-grade sect would have such a foundation. Not to mention one, even if they raised a group of them, raising 100 of them would not be a problem. Although the geniuses of Extreme Heaven Pavilion were from third-grade and fourth-grade sects, they were only members of a sect and not the entire sect. It was extremely rare for any sect or power to exhaust all their resources for a single person. The spirit plants of destiny were the lifeblood of the entire sect and the source of cultivation resources. It was related to the development and continuation of the entire sect. Even if they were noble second-generation ancestors or descendants of their families, they could only enjoy a few tens or even 100th of the cultivation resources of the spirit plants of destiny. Although the resources they enjoyed might seem like a lot to outsiders, in front of Lin Xian, who had 2 spirit plants of destiny, it was nothing. Who was the frog at the bottom of the well? Who was the real poor? They were asking for humiliation. Absolute Heaven Pavilion was truly seeking their own humiliation. How awe-inspiring they were when they were putting on a show earlier was how embarrassed they were now. They could not wait to pack up and leave. Just standing on the stage was enough to show that he had enough courage. More and more fiery gazes were cast over, like knives cutting into the faces of the geniuses from Extreme Heaven Pavilion. They had lost all the face they had in their previous lives. Hey, rich people from Extreme Heaven Pavilion, what's going on? Why are you all packing up? Don't, all the good food is going to waste. Are you trying to humiliate me? A poor man who can't eat his fill? Isn't that right? Is it because you can't afford to play? Lin Qian's soul interrogation caused the geniuses of Heaven Severing Pavilion to gnash their teeth in anger, their faces flushed red. Motherf asterisk her. Just who is humiliating who? If you want to humiliate yourself, then you have to endure it. At this time, the Vice Pavilion Master of Extreme Heaven Pavilion, Imo Jingchun, said with an indifferent expression. He was one of the few people in Extreme Heaven Pavilion who did not join Dai Hua and the others in humiliating Lin Qian. Since you've already made your move, you should be able to afford to lose. My Extreme Heaven Pavilion's goal along the way is to reach the peak, but we are definitely not invincible. Don't forget why we came here. With just a few words, the Vice Pavilion Master made all the geniuses lower their heads and submit wholeheartedly. They were no longer as arrogant as before, which made many people secretly shocked, as expected of the Vice Pavilion Master of Absolute Heaven Pavilion. This kind of bearing and indifference was something that many of the genius rankings geniuses could not compare to. At this time, the 3 Sage Realm referees on the stage sat back down with trembling hands. Their mouths were dry, but their eyes were abnormally excited. Found it, Long Qingguo. We finally found the Long Qingguo. The chronic illness in our bodies can be cured. This kid has the Long Qing Shu. He can mass-produce the Long Qingguo. We have to find him a trade. The Long Qingguo was too important to them. They had searched Xuanyu and the mysterious realm in the past, but they did not find much. However, Lin Qian actually had the Long Qing Shu in his hands. Lin Qian, your life is still the Pavilion Master's. This problem will not change. You do have a lot of resources. However, a true powerhouse will always speak with strength. Let your people come on stage. Let's have a real fight. Imo Jingchun's gaze was sharp as he looked straight at Lin Qian. Seeing that the other party had shown his cards, Movie King, Lin Qian simply stopped acting. He put his hands behind his head, leaned against the Long Qing Shu, and whistled cynically. Zhen Dijiu, go up and play with them. Zhen Dijiu was wearing a black coat. His facial features were handsome, but his face was pale. His aura was extremely cold, and there was a saber at his waist. Zhen Dijiu stood up, and a rare smile appeared on his cold face. It was as if a ray of sunlight suddenly shone through the darkness. He saluted Lin Qian and said, "Yes." Rip. His figure flashed, and he stepped onto the stage. He stood against the wind and held his saber. Imo Jingchun looked up. Xia Jianfeng, who had a 3-foot-long saber, nodded seriously and rushed forward. He slashed onto the stage like a sword light. The crowd was in an uproar. Sword Emperor versus Saber Emperor. Lin Shun put away all the silver Saint Origin coins and the 2 spiritual plants of Providence. On the way to the conference, he had already used 3/4 of his Qiani holy water. However, he had exchanged it for the clear jade tree that was at its peak and the long Qing shu that was in its growth stage. A spiritual plant of Providence, at its peak, could produce more than 1,000,000 silver Saint Origin coins per month. This did not include the medicinal herbs and spiritual plant specialties. If these were included, the value would be immeasurable, not to mention the long Qing shu that was almost extinct. Lin Shin's wealth was comparable to a top 3rd-grade sect or even a 4th-grade force. Class monitor, this is too satisfying. Bai Juanhao exclaimed. Yulin waved his little fist excitedly. Let those people who look down on us know how powerful our class monitor is. TSK. Han Ziyun tapped Lin Chin's forehead with her slender finger and smiled. After so many years, he did not seem to have changed. In fact, Lin Shun had already distributed a large amount of cultivation resources to everyone before the conference began. Especially the clear jade dew, he gave everyone 20 bottles and 15 long Qinghua. As for the medicinal herbs, he let everyone take whatever they wanted. When they found out that Lin Shun had 2 spiritual plants of Providence, Class 60 SXS shock was no different from everyone else's. As for a tall tree attracting the wind, Lin Shun had already thrown caution to the wind. He had already been targeted by the hidden pavilion. Lin Shun predicted that the hidden pavilion was not the only force that was secretly eyeing him. Since that was the case, why not mess up the situation and make it even more chaotic? He could either not be arrogant and keep a low profile to make a fortune, but since it was already on the table, then he would be arrogant to the end. Messing things up beyond the enemy's expectations was the only way to survive without relying on others. This conference of the 4 powers was the time for Lin Shun to accumulate strength. In the spectator stands, sword auras were everywhere. The atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. Many spectators began to hold their breaths and watch the battle attentively. From the rankings, Zhen Dijiu, who was ranked 94171, and Xia Jianfeng, who was ranked 86,441, were not on the same level. In terms of cultivation, one was a late 9th-level combat emperor, while the other was a first tribulation combat emperor. The difference in cultivation in the genius ranking had a decisive advantage. Even though more people were optimistic about Xia Jianfeng, they were still looking forward to this battle because the Black Horse Club was full of mystery. The referee, a 5th tribulation combat emperor, gave the order. The first round of the individual battle, Xia Jianfeng from the Extreme Heaven Pavilion versus Zhen Dijiu from the Black Horse Club. Begin. Swoosh. Boom. Sword light flashed, and Xia Jianfeng attacked. His swordsmanship was well-tempered and without any fancy moves. He drew his sword and stabbed Zhen Dijiu like a white rainbow. Chapter 882. Xia Jianfeng's sword was extremely fast, and more than 90% of the audience did not see him draw his sword. His strength was not inferior to Shao Qing, who Lin Shun had killed. Zhen Dijiu's aura suddenly soared. Under the 7 transformations, Zhen Dijiu's aura skyrocketed. His dragon glory was like a crescent moon, and his blade shadow was like a mirror. Clang! The white sword light actually bounced back to Xia Jianfeng along with the blade shadow, stunning all the blade emperors present. Boom! 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 When Xia Jianfeng blocked his own sword light with his sword, the air around him collapsed. The moonlight flashed, and Moon of Speed slashed horizontally. It was extremely fast. Whoosh! A shadow was shattered like an illusion, and it was shattered by Moon of Speed. Xia Jianfeng safely retreated. His top purple rank movement technique, 3 ghostly flashes, could increase his speed in a short distance. Rip! Zhen Diji used Dark Steps, Stellar Transposition, and Dark Calamity Battle. Qi twisted and rotated. He followed closely behind Xia Jianfeng and slashed again. Clang! The sword and blade clashed, and sparks flew everywhere. The sword light and blade shadow clashed together like lightning. Countless audience were shocked and shocked. Zhen Dijiu could actually fight Xia Jianfeng head-on? The difference between the two of them was close to 9,000 ranks. More than 20 million dragon power points on the blade technique. Interesting. As expected of the person who could kill the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. However, compared to my mystic Yongsor body, it's too weak. Die. Xia Jianfeng's eyebrows were sharp, and his entire body was covered with 9 layers of mystic Yang sword qi. When he used it on his sword, his arms swung rapidly, and the sword light slashed diagonally. It actually contained 2 top purple rank sword techniques. No, it's not over yet. Xia Jianfeng used 2 sword techniques. He waved his left sleeve, and a sword appeared in his sleeve. With a spin, he forced Zhen Dijiu to use Mirror of Defense to block. It's actually a dual sword technique. Mystic Yang sword body and dual sword technique instantly suppressed Zhen Dijiu. So strong. Xia Jianfeng is the descendant of a sword saint from a 4th rank family. Not many people could force him to use his true strength. His talent in the sword Dao can be said to be superb. With the dual sword technique, the power of his sword technique multiplied. His strength is not as simple as the strength on the ranking. To be able to fight with Xia Jianfeng to this extent is already very strong. Zhen Dijiu's defeat is not to be blamed. Xia Jianfeng closed in on Zhen Dijiu step by step. His swordsmanship was like a tidal wave, and the young, odd crystal fragment in his body was shining brightly, constantly enhancing the power of his swordsmanship. Xia Jianfeng had used at least 4 types of top-grade purple rank sword arts, and they contained 4 completely different sword styles. They were perfectly compatible, and he could calmly face any opponent. This battle was close to being one-sided. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. Xia Jianfeng's strength was even higher than Shao Qing's when he wasn't wearing the 7 evils of the mystic devil. However, Shao Qing's specialty was assassination. He had only been forced into a head-on battle because he had snatched the ancient sage's inheritance. However, there was no doubt that Xia Jianfeng's battle prowess was on the same level as Shao Qing's. He was the successor of a 4th-grade force. Lose! Xia Jianfeng flicked his swords, shattering the Mirror of Guard, and sending Zhen Dijiu's Dragon Glory Battle Saber flying away. At the moment when victory was about to be decided, Vice Pavilion Master Mo Jingchun suddenly shouted coldly, "Jianfeng, retreat!" Xia Jianfeng paused. He trusted Mo Jingchun unconditionally and wanted to forcefully withdraw his sword arts and retreat with his movement technique. Qi. Zhen Dijiu's clothes were torn apart by the lingering sword aura, but he rushed forward without hesitation and clenched his fist. Boom! Zhen Dijiu, who had lost his saber, was even more powerful than before. His body was covered in a dark green glow, and a mysterious pure force flowed in his arms. He punched out violently. Ultimate moment. 7 forces as one. This punch was like 7 dragons soaring in the sky, and it pulled the air with a strange force. Xia Jianfeng's body paused for a moment, and he was hit directly in the face by the punch. He could only block with his sword in front of him and activate his defensive battle technique to form a sword light barrier and take the attack head-on. Bang! Ka. The power of this punch increased to an extremely abnormal level. The pure force penetrated his defensive battle technique and penetrated his body with the force of twisting, penetrating, and killing, causing his defense to collapse and his defensive treasured weapon to shatter. Pucci. Xia Jianfeng spat out blood and dropped dozens of attribute light balls. However, he suddenly heard the sound of air being cut apart, and it made his hair stand on end. He was too familiar with the sound of air being cut apart. It was his Extreme Heaven Pavilion's Ji Wutian's ultimate skill, Vanishing Shadow, Flying Dagger. Host clone is complete, activating passive talent, strong attack. Activating level 6 recharge rune and level 5 penetration rune. Great Sun Heaven Flame Sword. Xia Jianfeng didn't care how his opponent knew Vanishing Shadow, Flying Dagger. He used his strongest sword, the half-orange grade Great Sun Heaven Flame Sword, and the two swords in his hands burst out with a mighty orange sun flame. Break for me. The two swords slashed horizontally, slashing behind and in front of him. If you're not convinced, then I'll beat you until you are. If you have the ability, then come and snatch it. Zhen Dijiu glanced at him in disdain and got off the stage. Xia Jianfeng almost vomited blood. Not only did he lose the martial arts competition, he even lost an arm and an odd crystal fragment. What a loss. According to the rules, he didn't break the rules. The elder said in a flat tone. At this moment, Lin Chen's angry roar came from the stage of the Black Horse Club. Damn, Zhendiji, what are you doing? You've embarrassed me. The spectators. What was going on? He won so cleanly, yet he still embarrassed you. Chapter 883. Many of the spectators were dumbfounded. What was going on? The Black Horse Club was quarreling? Why was this Master Lin unhappy? Zhen Dijiu had taken them by surprise, accumulated strength, counterattacked, and won brilliantly. Even the older generation experts couldn't find any flaws, and he was still unhappy? F***CK. Why did you have to fight 200 rounds against this kind of trash? Your name is Zhen Dijiu, but I didn't ask you to fight for that long. Didn't I just give you the 3 half-orange tier combat skills on the corner of the desk a few days ago? You still want 200 rounds? Just because I gave you the combat skills, the desk where the director is writing is still shaking. Can you be a little more promising? Many of the spectators' mouths twitched. Was this even human language? What kind of deity was the director of the Black Horse Club, using half-orange tier combat skills on the corner of the desk? The geniuses from Extreme Heaven Pavilion were so angry that their faces turned red. Xia Jianfeng, who was lying down and being carried out for treatment, spat out a mouthful of blood. This is too King intolerable. What was trash? Xia Jianfeng was already above average in Extreme Heaven Pavilion. If he was trash, then what were the others? Zhen Diju cupped his fists and said seriously, Yes, I'll fight for 10 rounds next time. Bullshit. You only have 2 rounds next time. If you can't kill them in 2 rounds, I'll kill you. The spectators. Crazy. He must be crazy. Mo Jingchen's veins were popping out, but he held it in. The winner was king, and the loser was a bandit. As long as you lost, whatever you said was a reason. The heated discussion exploded in the audience. With this battle, the Black Horse Club officially became famous. Most of the geniuses who had entered the ancient sacred hall had died in Lin Chen's hands. Almost no one was willing to believe that, and thought that this young man had picked up the scraps. In addition, in the last stage of the ancient sacred hall, when the survivors were teleported out, they were all killed by the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion. The only survivors were Lan Ruoxue and Mo Qing. Almost no one spread the news of the Black Horse Club's battle record of defeating more than 30 geniuses. But now, a random youngster from the Black Horse Club had only defeated the descendant of a sword saint from a 4th-rank aristocratic family within a few hundred rounds. Who would dare question this? The referee announced, in the first round of the individual competition, Zhen Dijiu versus Xia Jianfeng. Zhen Dijiu wins. Black Horse Club accumulated points, 20 points. In all fairness, Xia Jianfeng was not weak. In fact, he was very strong. Lin Chen's doppelganger had found an opportunity to activate the final moment stacking rune, increasing the might of the 3 consecutive strikes of the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger by 10 times. Adding on the strengthening of the mental cultivation method and the battle technique itself, the amplification was nearly 4 times, and the perfect activation of the assault talent was nearly 17 times. That was how he had managed to destroy many of Xia Jianfeng's trump cards. The fourth style of the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger was definitely not the strongest. It should be said that the true power of the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger was the strongest when it was unleashed 4 times in a row. The advantage of this ultimate skill was that it could instantly release 4 types of flying daggers, one after another, making it impossible for the opponent to guard against it. The last dagger was even thrown out with all of his strength. I have to get more flying daggers when I have the time. If I let all my doppelganger release 4 consecutive strikes, that would be my strongest attack. Lin Chun was secretly pleased and activated the system's decomposition function. Host decomposed the Yang odd crystal fragment, obtained special attribute value. 9 Yang True, flames 9 million points. Elemental attribute value. 45 million points of intermediate fire energy. Consumed 9 million points of special attribute, 9 Yang True Flames, and 100 million Heaven's Path points to create an advanced blue rank killing technique. Consumed 3255 strengthening points to upgrade Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger to plus 11. Power increase, 30%. Consumed 5510 strengthening points, upgrade failed. Lin Chun used up the 210,000 strengthening points he had on hand and upgraded the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger to plus 13. Its power increased sharply. After this battle, Zhu Tian Pavilion had officially listed the Black Horse Club as their #1 enemy. All the opponents they had expected to defeat were cancelled, and they only had Lin Chun and his group in their eyes. Mo Jingsheng got up and left. I hope we can meet again in the next round. It's best if it's me against you. Lin Chun laughed mockingly. Don't worry, I'll let you guys lose in a very orderly manner. At this moment, a mysterious spatial fluctuation transmitted to Lin Chun. Lin Chun, this old man's name is Tian Songzi. I wonder if I can purchase a batch of Long Qingwo from you in private? Lin Chun was startled. When he turned around, 3 figures appeared on the stage. They were the 3 highest referees of the martial arts competition. Oh, so it's the seniors. Lin Chun was surprised. The 3 elders laughed. Little friend, there's no need to be surprised. These are just our doppelgangers. We are very sincere this time and only wish to purchase a batch of Long Qingwo. Little friend, please name your price. Everyone was surprised that Lin Chun had attracted the attention of the 3 saints. Then we have to have a good chat, huh? Junhao, you guys go and participate in the competition first. Lin Chun's evil smile made the 3 elders' hearts skip a beat. Damn, why do I feel that this kid is more cunning than us? During the secret meeting, Lin Chun brought Shindapi and Shintokasho to negotiate with the 3 elders. Lin Chun still had 155 Long Qingwo on hand. The Long Qingshu was still in its growth stage. Only when it reached its peak could the growth rate of Long Qingwo reach hundreds or even more per month. After the negotiation, Lin Chun promised the 3 elders that he was willing to sell 140 Long Qingwo, but there were many conditions attached. He ruthlessly ripped off the 3 elders. Condition 1. Allow Shindapi half of the referee's range of activity. He could enter the competition venue of the major fields, but he had to be followed by the referee. The 3 elders were puzzled by this condition, but Lin Chun promised not to do anything that violated the rules. If he violated the rules, the Black Horse Club would completely forfeit. The 3 elders only allowed him to pass if the referee followed him. This condition was to make it easier for Lin Chun to collect attribute light balls. The competition was approaching, and the competition between the various geniuses was bound to cause attribute points to drop. Perhaps it was because Lin Chun's cultivation base had improved, so the quality of the attribute points wouldn't be very high. Condition 2. The 3 elders had to arrange for Lin Chun to meet with all the Saint Realm experts who were organizing the competition. His goal was very simple. He wanted to steal to his heart's content. After agreeing to the above conditions, Lin Chun made a huge profit when he sold the 140 Long Qingwo. He obtained 200 golden Saint Origin coins, 7 types of 8th grade exotic ores, and 6 types of 8th grade medicinal herbs. 180 million talent points have been consumed to use the innate skill God Stealing Omen on 3 targets. Host has received 30 million spiritual points, 150 million talent points, 100 million wind energy points. Lin Shun, who had used the God Stealing Omen on the 3 elders, was secretly delighted. Damn, if he could find a place where Saint Realm experts gathered, wouldn't he be able to steal to his heart's content? The only pity was that the upgraded God Stealing Omen consumed a huge amount of talent points every time it was used. Apart from Saint Realm experts, even 5th Tribulation Combat Emperors might not be worth stealing attribute points from. Lin Shun returned to the competition. Next was the group martial arts competition. In the group martial arts competition, the participants could join forces with several forces in the same group. There was no limit to the number of participants, but once they lost, they would be eliminated. For example, the teams that had advanced to the second round could join forces with other teams that had advanced to the second round, but they couldn't join forces with other teams that had already been eliminated. Secondly, the more forces that joined forces, the stronger their opponents would be. In short, if you joined forces with other forces, your opponent would also be a joint team. Therefore, the participants this time weren't just the Black Horse Club, but also the members of Class 66 who had arrived at the Sacred Boundary. Class 66, the Sacred Boundary, attack again. Let's go and sweep the geniuses of the genius ranking in the Sacred Boundary. Lin Shun was full of heroism as he led the eager students of Class 66 into the venue of the group martial arts competition. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.